Chapter 3796. The hall fell silent again. Li Feng and the three sovereign divine weapons were filled with doubts. What was going on? Qin Feiyang actually dared to negotiate with the divine king of primal chaos and the other demon kings so unscrupulously? The key was, facing Qin Feiyang's attitude, the divine king of primal chaos and the other demon kings were not angry? It was simply too abnormal. Could it be that Qin Feiyang had something on them? But one had to know. The entire Sky Bell divine treasure was under the rule of the divine king of primal chaos. After a long time, the divine king of primal chaos finally reacted. He lowered his head to look at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Your plan is not bad. It's purely for self-protection." Qin Feiyang smiled. "You're not just thinking about self-protection. If I agree to your condition, it means that all the undead and sovereign divine weapons in the entire Sky Bell divine treasure can't hurt you. If they can't hurt you, doesn't that mean you can do whatever you want in the Sky Bell divine treasure?" A cold light flashed in the eyes of the divine king of primal chaos. "Senior divine king's words are too serious. Do you think I'm the kind of person who can do whatever I want?" Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. "I think so. You dare to be so arrogant in front of us, let alone those undead and sovereign divine weapons. If we really agree to your condition, then the blood ancestor can slaughter them and devour their undead souls. You can also look for sovereign divine weapons everywhere and subdue them for your use. You can also plunder the law miniatures and even the inheritance of the ultimate profound. Because they don't dare to fight back. It means that the entire Sky Bell divine treasure will be your slaughterhouse in the future. What a wild ambition. Bloodthirsty Demon King, Black Flame Demon King, and Feng Tian Demon King all sneered. Slaughterhouse? Qin Feiyang was stunned and said with a wry smile, "I've never thought about such a thing." "Stop pretending. What is your purpose in coming to the Sky Bell divine treasure? Isn't it just for the sovereign's divine weapon, the law miniature, and the inheritance of the ultimate profound? You want to use us to achieve your ambitions? Dream on." Feng Tian Demon King sneered. How could such a small trick escape their sharp eyes? What a joke. Qin Feiyang had no way to defend himself. Indeed, he had never thought of it that way. It was purely for self-preservation. Who would have thought that the demon kings would be so imaginative? "Be quiet." The divine king of primal chaos spoke, and all the demon kings fell silent. Qin Feiyang also looked up at the divine king of primal chaos. This woman was still the one who could make the decisions. The demon kings could only brag. "It's not impossible for me to agree to your condition. At that time, I can even personally send you out of the Heaven Bell divine treasury and guarantee your safety." The divine king of primal chaos looked at Qin Feiyang and said indifferently. "Then what are your conditions?" Qin Feiyang asked. There was no such thing as a free lunch in the world, let alone a free lunch. There had to be a condition for such a good thing. The divine king of primal chaos said, "From now on, you will stay in the primal chaos royal city and not go anywhere until the Heaven Bell divine treasury is over." What? Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other. Wasn't this the same as restricting their freedom? They still wanted to find more law miniature and sovereign's divine weapons so that they would have a greater chance of resisting the divine kingdom. The blood ancestor naturally didn't need to be mentioned. He still wanted to devour the souls of the dead and raise his law of time to the ultimate profound level. If his freedom was restricted, all of this would be empty talk. But if they didn't agree, the divine king of primal chaos would definitely not agree to their conditions. At that time, they would have no way to survive. You have already obtained enough in the Heaven Bell divine treasury. Don't be greedy. Moreover, even without the undead barrier breaking pill, I wouldn't have allowed you to continue plundering. Do you know the real reason why I gave the order to hunt you down? The blood ancestor stealing the secret technique is only secondary. The more important reason is that if I let you continue plundering, it will definitely affect the foundation of the Heaven Bell Divine Treasury. In short, as the ruler of the Heaven Bell Divine Treasury, everything in the Heaven Bell Divine Treasury is my personal property. If it were you, would you allow someone to plunder your property like this? The Divine King of Primal Chaos said indifferently. Property? Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other. She actually said that everything in the Heaven Bell Divine Treasury was her personal property? These words were too unreasonable. Everything in the world was created by heaven and earth. Why should it belong to her? However, even if it was unreasonable, they couldn't refute it. Because the Divine King of Primal Chaos strength was right in front of them. As the ruler of this place, she could do whatever she wanted. Not to mention outsiders like them, even the dead and sovereign's divine weapons here wouldn't dare to have any objections. Think about it carefully. Of course, if you agree, I won't mistreat you. The Divine King of Primal Chaos said indifferently. You won't mistreat us? Qin Feiyang and the others were stunned. Could it be that she was going to give them some kind of supreme treasure? If that was the case, they could stay in the royal city of Primal Chaos. They wouldn't have to worry about their lives being threatened, and they could also obtain supreme treasures to improve their strength. This was a good thing that fell from the sky. For us, the undead barrier breaking pill is a fortune, but for you, what I can give you is also a fortune. But it's up to you how to choose. After the Divine King of Primal Chaos finished speaking, she went silent and waited for Qin Feiyang and the others' reply. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other and smiled bitterly. The Divine King of Primal Chaos' attitude was quite firm. If you don't agree, I won't agree either. Let's see who's afraid of who. Beauty, can you tell us in advance what treasure you're going to give us? The mad scientist rolled his eyes and stared at the Divine King of Primal Chaos and chuckled. Everyone was stunned. Beauty? And that smiling face that deserved a beating, was this guy flirting with the Divine King of Primal Chaos? His guts were way too big. Can't I call him that? The mad scientist looked at everyone suspiciously. Of course not. All the demon kings rolled their eyes. For someone as important as the Divine King of Primal Chaos, you could either call him Lord or Senior. Although the word beauty was a recognition of beauty, when used on the Divine King of Primal Chaos, it was a little frivolous. So troublesome. The mad scientist pursed his lips and bared his teeth. Beautiful Divine King of Primal Chaos, can you tell us what you're going to give us? There's no problem with this title, right? The Divine King of Primal Chaos's mouth twitched. What a glib little thing. He shook his head and said, no, if I say it now, it won't be able to test your determination. That's not fair. We've already told you about the undead barrier breaking pill. You should at least reveal a little. The mad scientist wasn't convinced. There's no such thing as fairness in this world. If you want to obtain a creation, you have to fight for it yourself. The Divine King of Primal Chaos smiled faintly. The mad scientist had a helpless expression. He had asked for nothing. However, the Divine King of Primal Chaos had mentioned a creation several times. It had to be something incredible. The mad scientist turned to Qin Feiyang and chuckled. Old Qin, why don't we just submit to her? Bastard, don't go overboard. Demon King Feng Tian suddenly stood up and glared at the mad scientist. Submit to her? Was this something that could be said so casually? Those who didn't know would think that the Divine King of Primal Chaos was forcing them to give themselves up. This was clearly the Divine King of Primal Chaos. It's none of your business. You didn't like us when we chatted with the Ice Queen. Now that we're chatting with the Divine King of Primal Chaos, you don't like us anymore. If you have nothing to do after eating, then go out and pick up dung. Don't just stay here and show your presence. The mad scientist raised his eyebrows and scolded without holding back. Bastard! You're too arrogant. Demon King Feng Tian was furious. For someone like you, I feel that it's a waste of time to say another word to you. So, please shut your stinky mouth and don't talk shit everywhere. Madman snorted coldly and looked away, revealing a disdainful expression. Demon King Feng Tian was so angry that his body trembled. He looked at the Divine King of Primal Chaos and roared, "Lord Divine King, look, what kind of attitude is that? He doesn't care about you at all." The mad scientist turned to Demon King Feng Tian and said, "I really don't want to talk nonsense with you, but there's nothing I can do about it. You're just asking for a scolding. It's always been you shouting here, and now you're making a fuss? Dear Lord Demon King, may I ask if you're a dog?" The killing intent in Demon King Feng Tian's heart was uncontrollable. Qin Feiyang glanced at Demon King Feng Tian and decisively made a decision. He looked at the Divine King of Primal Chaos and said with a smile, "Senior Divine King, I agree to your conditions." He had no choice but to agree. With Demon King Feng Tian's killing intent, he would definitely kill them in the future. If it was just Demon King Feng Tian, he wouldn't care, but there was still Demon King Feng Tian and Demon King Feng Tian. He also felt a strong killing intent in the hearts of these two demon kings. As for Ice Queen and the others, although they didn't feel any killing intent, if they really fell out in the future, they would definitely stand with Theta Wang and the others without hesitation. Very good. You've made a very wise decision. Then it's a deal. The Divine King of Primal Chaos smiled. It's useless to talk. We have to swear an oath as proof. Qin Feiyang said. Swear an oath? The Divine King of Primal Chaos was stunned. That's right. I trust you. But I really can't trust some demon kings. Therefore, we have to swear a blood oath. Qin Feiyang said. Blood oath? The Divine King of Primal Chaos was suspicious. This is a kind of oath that will be fulfilled. Once a blood oath is violated, even a sovereign divine weapon will be destroyed by the wrath of heaven. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The Divine King of Primal Chaos smiled in astonishment. There's actually such an oath in this world? Interesting. Lord Divine King. Think thrice. This might be a trap. Demon King Feng Tian hurriedly shouted. Don't measure the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. If it's really a trap, I won't be so stupid as to swear a blood oath myself. The mocking smile on Qin Feiyang's face was undisguised. Demon King Feng Tian was mad with hatred. As a demon king of the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, he was provoked by two juniors time and time again. It was simply a great humiliation. Chapter 3797. Qin Feiyang sighed, I didn't mean to target you, but you are too tactless. In the end, I want to say something, remember your identity. You are the Demon King of the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, don't tarnish your own face. Anyone with a brain could understand the meaning of these words. A big shot should have the demeanor of a big shot. Don't be like a clown, it was very ugly. Demon King Feng Tian stared at Qin Feiyang coldly, his hands tightly clenched together. But in the end, unexpectedly, Demon King Feng Tian didn't flare up. He returned to his chair without saying a word and lowered his head, making others unable to see his expression. Who knew what he was thinking? Qin Feiyang didn't care. In any case, as long as these people swore a blood oath, no matter how much they hated him, they wouldn't dare to do anything to him, unless the other party really didn't want to live. But he had never seen someone who didn't want to live. Moreover, if Demon King Feng Tian really didn't want to live, he wouldn't care so much about the undead barrier breaking pill. Qin Feiyang looked up at the Divine King of Primal Chaos and said with a faint smile, "Senior Divine King, if you don't have any objections, then let's begin." The Divine King of Primal Chaos didn't immediately reply. He looked at Snow Queen and the others and asked, "What do you think?" "As long as I can get rid of my undead body, I have no objections." Snow Queen took the lead and smiled at Qin Feiyang and the others. "I also have no objections." Myriad Poison's Demon King also expressed his opinion. The remaining Demon Kings looked at each other and nodded. In the end, only Bloodthirsty Demon King, Black Flame Demon King, and Demon King Feng Tian were left. "What? Do you have any objections?" The Divine King of Primal Chaos looked at the three and asked. Black Flame Demon King glanced at Qin Feiyang and the others, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He looked up at the Divine King of Primal Chaos and said with a smile, "If Lord Divine King doesn't have any objections, how can we dare?" "Listening to what you said, it seems you are forcing yourself." "Actually, you don't have to force yourself. As long as you are happy, even if you have an undead body." Madman looked at Black Flame Demon King and laughed. The Black Flame Demon King raised his eyebrows. Was there no end to it? After scolding Demon King Feng Tian, she came to target him. "All of you, calm down," the Divine King of Chaos said as he looked coldly at the Mad Lord and the Black Flame Demon King. Madman pursed his lips and fell silent. The Black Flame Demon King also lowered his head, not daring to utter another word. This was because everyone knew that they could offend anyone but the Divine King of Primal Chaos. It seems that no one has any objections. The Divine King of Primal Chaos glanced at the 9 Demon Kings before looking at Qin Feiyang with a faint smile. "Tell me, how do you want me to make a blood oath?" "It's simple. You and the other Demon Kings, use your blood essence as a guide. As for the Sovereign's weapons, they are guided by their weapon spirits." Qin Feiyang briefly explained. "I see." The Divine King of Chaos smiled. After all, they were all powerful and knowledgeable people. They only needed to ponder a little to understand. "Then let's begin," Qin Feiyang said with a smile. "All right." The Divine King of Primal Chaos nodded and looked at the 9 Demon Kings. "Let your sovereign's weapons come out." The 9 Demon Kings waved their hands, and their respective sovereign's weapons appeared. Swords, spears, sticks, everything. Following that, everyone made a blood oath one after another. One after another, the oath seals descended and merged into everyone's body. Looking at the oath seals descending from the sky, even the Divine King of Primal Chaos couldn't help but be amazed. Will this thing really come true? The Myriad Poison's Demon King frowned. Qin Feiyang said with a faint smile, "If you don't believe me, you can try it." The Myriad Poison's Demon King was slightly taken aback before smiling embarrassedly. "Then forget it." The Bloodthirsty Demon King looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a gloomy expression, "The blood oath has been made, can you give us the undead barrier breaking pill?" "And, one last thing," Qin Feiyang said with some hesitation. "Are you done?" The Bloodthirsty Demon King was furious. Qin Feiyang glanced at the Bloodthirsty Demon King, then looked up at the Divine King of Primal Chaos and said, "Senior, I originally didn't want to talk about this." Before Qin Feiyang could finish, the Divine King of Primal Chaos waved his hand and said, "Then don't talk about it." Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment before he smiled bitterly and said, "I think it's better to confess and be more lenient. Otherwise, when you find out in the future, even if you don't dare to kill me because of the blood oath, you will definitely hate me in your heart." "Is it that serious?" The Divine King of Primal Chaos was surprised. "Ahem." Qin Feiyang coughed dryly, looked at the Demon Kings, and said, "We have already killed the Queen of Flames." "What?" Hearing this, the Demon Kings immediately stood up and looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. The divine king of primal chaos's eyes also flashed with a cold light. The blood ancestor secretly said angrily, "Qin Feiyang, what are you doing? Why did you tell them such a big thing? I thought about it for a long time before making this decision." Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. "Why?" the blood ancestor asked. "Although I have just met the divine king of primal chaos, from the previous conversation, this person is actually not that unreasonable. What she wants to see is a person's sincerity. It doesn't matter if you do something wrong. What matters is deceit. Take the matter of you guys stealing the secret technique for example. Previously, she said that if you were to apologize to her in person after entering the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, she might not really kill you." Qin Feiyang secretly explained. But, the blood ancestor raised his eyebrows. Frenzy transmitted his voice, "What are you afraid of? The blood oath has already been made. Even if they want to kill us, they won't dare to do it. Just sit still. You two really like to mess around." The blood ancestor glared at the two of them, then raised his head to look at the divine king of primal chaos, feeling extremely nervous. Li Zhongsheng and the others were also very nervous. Then they looked at the divine king of primal chaos. At this moment, she lowered her head and stared at Qin Feiyang without saying a word. The 9 great demon kings were also looking at Qin Feiyang. They were all silent, but their expressions were all different. Some were shocked, some had gloomy expressions, and some had extremely complicated expressions. Who would have thought that the Queen of Flames, one of the 10 demon kings, would die in the hands of these people? The hall fell into deathly silence once more. The atmosphere was heavy. After an unknown period of time, the divine king of primal chaos took a deep breath, and the cold light in his eyes faded. He finally broke the silence and looked at Qin Feiyang. "You are quite honest." Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly. "Let's not talk about the past. After all, we were enemies in the past. It was either you kill me or I kill you. If the Queen of Flames died in your hands, then she can only blame herself for being inferior." The divine king of primal chaos said indifferently. Hearing this, the blood ancestor and the others breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank you, senior." Qin Feiyang smiled gratefully. The divine king of primal chaos said, "Now, there shouldn't be any other conditions, right? If I say there is, these demon kings will definitely get angry again." Qin Feiyang glanced at Theta Wang and the others, then looked at the divine king of primal chaos and said, "Refining the undead bottleneck breaking pill requires the extreme yang thunder fire, but I only have one extreme yang thunder fire on me, so I can only refine one undead bottleneck breaking pill." Extreme yang thunder fire? The divine king of primal chaos and the 9 demon kings were stunned. "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at the 10 of them. "I have all the other ingredients except for the extreme yang thunder fire. You will have to deal with this matter yourselves." "You have ready-made extreme yang thunder fire?" the divine king of primal chaos asked. "No." The 9 demon kings shook their heads. This thing was of no value to them at all. It would take up too much space in their interspatial rings. The divine king of primal chaos pondered for a while and said with a faint smile, "Then refine one for me first. Let them find the other extreme yang thunder fire themselves." "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and glanced at the hall. He then turned to look outside and said with a smile, "Then let's go outside." There was a large square outside the hall. They could come out of the castle and stay in the square. "Okay." The divine king of primal chaos got up and walked out of the hall. The 9 demon kings followed closely behind. Obviously, they wanted to see Qin Feiyang refine the pill with their own eyes. Looking at the backs of the 10 demon kings, Li Zhongsheng patted his chest and said with lingering fear, "You really scared me to death just now. Look at how brave you are." Xiao Shui shook her head. Li Zhongsheng immediately said with dissatisfaction, Sister Shui, that's too much. I just saw that you were sweating on your forehead. Do you dare say that it wasn't because you were nervous? Was it? Don't talk nonsense. Xiao Shui glared at him. Okay. I was just talking nonsense. Li Zhongsheng shook his head helplessly. Women were truly hard to fathom. Qin Feiyang. No, Grand Immortal Qin, don't forget about me. The old poisonous beast looked at Qin Feiyang with a face full of desire and smiled obsequiously. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. Grand Immortal? Why don't you say Exalted Immortal? Don't worry, I won't forget about you. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Then, he quickly walked out of the main hall and entered the square. The Blood Ancestor and the others came out and stood not far away from the 10 demon kings of Primal Chaos Divine King. The castle. Qin Feiyang thought. Clang. The castle immediately appeared and expanded. Finally, it landed on the square with a boom and the door opened. Qin Feiyang walked into the castle. The Divine King of Primal Chaos and the 9 demon kings also walked toward the castle. Qin Feiyang noticed this and turned to the 10 of them with a smile. I'm sorry, but I don't want to be disturbed when refining this kind of pill, so please wait outside for a while. The Black Flame Demon King raised his eyebrows. It was ridiculous to say that he didn't want to be disturbed. He obviously didn't want them to watch. Okay. The Divine King of Primal Chaos nodded and didn't force him. Qin Feiyang smiled gratefully and turned to enter the cultivation room. He took out the Extreme Yang Thunder Fire, Yin Yang Wood, and Death Fruit. Feiyang, although you've thought about it thoroughly this time, you still missed something. Just as Qin Feiyang was about to open the furnace, the voice of the castle suddenly sounded in his mind. Missed something? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Really? The castle said, the White-Eyed Wolf, the Fire Qilin, Tan Wu, the Infernal Divine Hound, Princess Wufeng, the Sea Lion King of the Heavenly Clouds Ocean, and the Masked Shura of the Land of Buried Gods. Them? Didn't I include them when I proposed this condition? Qin Feiyang said. Although that's what you thought, you didn't say it. You know about the blood oath. It only works when you're swearing an oath. In other words, even if the Black Flame Demon King and the others go and kill the White-Eyed Wolf, they won't be breaking the blood oath. The castle said. Chapter 3798. Then what should we do? Qin Feiyang frowned. Before giving the Chaos Divine King the pill, you should replenish yourself. I believe that when she sees the undead barrier breaking pill, she won't make things difficult for you. The castle thought for a while and said. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded. Fortunately, the castle reminded him. Otherwise, the Black Flame Demon King and the others might really take advantage of this loophole. Because the Black Flame Demon King had seen Princess Wufeng with his own eyes. And at that time, Princess Wufeng helped him with all her strength to fight against the Black Flame Demon King. Anyone with a brain would be able to tell that their relationship was not ordinary. And now, Princess Wufeng was not by his side. The Black Flame Demon King would definitely think that the two of them had separated. One had to know. With the strength of these demon kings, finding the whereabouts of Princess Wufeng was a piece of cake. Maybe even. The Black Flame Demon King, Bloodthirsty Demon King, and Feng Tian Demon King were secretly planning this. Once they got rid of their undead bodies, they would search for Princess Wufeng's whereabouts. When they found Princess Wufeng, the White-Eyed Wolf would naturally be in danger. Because the two of them were together. At that time. In the face of the 3 demon kings, even if the White-Eyed Wolf and Princess Wufeng had more than a dozen sovereign divine weapons, they would be powerless. Sure enough, it's too difficult to be flawless. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. Especially in such a chaotic and tense situation, no matter how thoughtful one was, there would still be places to fool. About 100 breaths passed. Under the anticipation of the Chaos Divine King, Qin Feiyang finally walked out of the castle. In front of him, an undead barrier-breaking pill was floating. The Chaos Divine King's eyes lit up and immediately prepared to go forward to take it. But at this time, Qin Feiyang grabbed the undead barrier-breaking pill first and glanced at the black flame demon Theta Wang. What do you mean? The Divine King of Primal Chaos frowned. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and lowered his head to look at the undead spirit barrier-breaking pill in his hand. He looked at the Divine King of Primal Chaos and smiled. Senior Divine King, I still have some friends who are currently training in the Heavenly Bell Divine Treasure. Therefore, I have to add another condition. I'm not allowed to harm your friends? The Primal Chaos Divine King asked. Yes. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the white-eyed wolf, Princess Xiaofan, Tan Wu, the Infernal Divine Hound, and the Fire Qilin appeared. When the shadows of the white-eyed wolf and the other four were formed, Qin Feiyang glanced at the Black Flame Devil King, paying attention to the changes in his expression. He realized. When the Black Flame Demon King saw the phantoms of the white-eyed wolf, Tan Wu, the Infernal Divine Hound, and the Fire Qilin, a trace of surprise appeared on his face. He seemed to be very surprised that Qin Feiyang had so many friends. But when he saw the phantoms of the Princess Xiaofan, the Black Flame Demon King couldn't help but frown slightly, as if there was a trace of anger. Seeing this change in expression, Qin Feiyang's heart trembled. The Black Flame Demon King was indeed planning to kill Princess Xiaofan. Moreover, he really felt a trace of killing intent in the hearts of the Black Flame Demon King, the Bloodthirsty Demon King, and the Reverence Demon King. Obviously. When they were in the main hall, the Black Flame Demon King was already secretly scheming. Because the Bloodthirsty Demon King and the Reverence Demon King didn't see Princess Xiaofan, the Black Flame Demon King must have secretly told them. Qin Feiyang finally understood why the Reverence Demon King didn't flare up in the face of the lunatic's clamor. He directly returned to his chair, lowered his head, and concealed the expression on his face. At that time, the Black Flame Demon King must have secretly told the Reverence Demon King to calm down and discuss a way to deal with them. What a despicable heart! A trace of killing intent flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. He then looked at the Azure Dragon and Yun Xiang, ready to let the two of them condense the shadows of the others in the land of buried gods. But when the words were about to come out of his mouth, he swallowed them back and his eyes flickered. What's wrong? The castle's suspicious voice rang in Qin Feiyang's mind. I have a bold guess. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. What guess? The castle was puzzled. Let's talk about it later. Qin Feiyang secretly responded. He looked at the Divine King of Primal Chaos and said with a smile, Senior Divine King, this request isn't too much, right? As you wish. The Divine King of Primal Chaos smiled faintly and nodded without hesitation. He then looked at the 9 Demon Kings and said, quickly make a blood oath. After that, the Divine King of Primal Chaos was the first to make a blood oath to not harm the white-eyed wolf and the others. Just as the castle expected, even the Divine King of Primal Chaos couldn't remain calm in the face of the undead barrier-breaking pill in front of him. Seeing the Divine King of Primal Chaos make a blood oath so quickly, Snow White Queen and the others naturally didn't dare to delay. They took out their respective divine weapons and made a blood oath. What should we do? The Bloodthirsty Demon King glanced at the Black Flame Demon King and the Sky Demon King and asked. This is the Divine King's order. What else can we do? Hurry up. Don't let Qin Feiyang see anything. The Black Flame Demon King said angrily. He also took out the Black Flame Demon Castle and quickly made a blood oath. Why are they so smart? They can think of everything in advance. The Sky Demon King and the Bloodthirsty Demon King were also very annoyed. But with so many eyes watching, especially the Divine King of Primal Chaos, even if they didn't want to, what could they do? Moreover, to get rid of the undead body, they still had to rely on Qin Feiyang. Therefore, the two could only helplessly take out their respective divine weapons and make a blood oath. And because the Demon Kings had made a blood oath, they couldn't personally harm Qin Feiyang and the others, or instigate the undead and divine weapons of the Sky Bell Divine Treasure to harm Qin Feiyang and the others. So even if they wanted to kill now, it wouldn't be considered a violation of the oath. After all, they didn't really make a move. Seeing the various demon kings swearing blood oaths again, Qin Feiyang revealed a smile on his face. He offered the undead spirit barrier breaking pellet to the primal chaos god king with both hands. Finally, this loophole was fixed. As for Long Chen, Qi Xiaoyun, and the white-bearded old man, they could only pray for themselves. Moreover, these people left their divine souls outside. Even if they died, it wouldn't matter much. However, if his guess was correct, then perhaps the three of them would obtain a huge stroke of good fortune. Of course. To Long Chen, this kind of fortune might not even enter his eyes. After all, he had a powerful father. Moreover, Long Chen's divine weapon was not ordinary. Black Flame Devil Theta Wang might not be able to kill him. After receiving the undead barrier breaking pill, the Divine King of Primal Chaos revealed a trace of joy in his eyes. Primal Chaos Royal City, protect me. As his voice fell, the Divine King of Primal Chaos immediately consumed the undead barrier breaking pill. Meet. Qin Feiyang hurriedly put away the ancient castle and retreated out of the square with the Blood Ancestor and the others. The 9 demon kings looked at each other and quickly left the square. This was because they had already seen the power of the heavenly tribulation when Xiao Shui was undergoing her tribulation. With their methods, they couldn't resist it. After a few breaths, the Divine King of Primal Chaos body trembled slightly, and a trace of pain crept into his eyes. Obviously, the undead barrier breaking pill's effect had already spread in his body. However, as the ruler of the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, he naturally couldn't let others see his miserable side, so no matter how painful it was, he endured it. Boom! Kacha! Soon, the heavenly tribulation descended. Blood-colored lightning roared in all directions, emitting an aura that could destroy heaven and earth. Azure Dragon looked at the tribulation clouds in the sky and suddenly thought of something. He transmitted his voice to Qin Feiyang and the others, wait a moment. Qin Feiyang and the others turned to look at Azure Dragon suspiciously. Azure Dragon frowned and pondered for a moment before looking at Qin Feiyang and asking, "Do you want to add another condition?" "What condition?" Qin Feiyang asked. The mad scientist and the others were also puzzled. Azure Dragon transmitted his voice, "Don't we have a lot of people in the land of buried gods and the heavenly cloud ocean? What if these demon kings want to kill them? So it's this." Qin Feiyang suddenly smiled and said to himself, "The ancient castle had already reminded me of this." "Already reminded you?" Azure Dragon was stunned and asked in confusion, "Then why didn't you mention them just now?" "At that time, when I looked at you and Yun Xiang, I was prepared to mention this matter, but suddenly, I had a bold guess." Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. "What guess?" Azure Dragon was puzzled. The mad scientist said in disdain, "Do you still need to say it? They must be up to something again. This time, I won't deny it." Qin Feiyang secretly smiled. "So straightforward?" The mad scientist was stunned and immediately became interested. He transmitted his voice, "Hurry up and say it." Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice with a smile, "Actually, for the god beasts and sea beasts of the land of buried gods and the heavenly cloud ocean, this might be a good fortune." "Good fortune?" The mad scientist and the others looked at each other. Being targeted by the demon kings was a good fortune? Was there something wrong with his brain? Think about it. Even if the demon kings want to make a move, they will make a move on our companions. Only then will they make us suffer. But they don't know the relationship between Sea Lion King and us. Previously, I didn't mention Sea Lion King and the others. That's the problem. The people I didn't mention, the demon kings, will definitely think that they have nothing to do with us and might even be our enemies. Isn't that the saying? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Daifuku was surprised. You mean, they will find Sea Lion King and the others to deal with us? I'm not sure. However, this is my guess. Because of the blood oath, the demon kings don't dare to make a move on us, but they hate us so much, especially Bloodthirsty Demon King, Feng Tian Demon King, and Black Flame Demon King. I have observed carefully before, and they indeed have the intention to kill White-Eyed Wolf and the others. Qin Feiyang glanced at Theta Wang and the others not far away, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. They really don't know life from death. I will deal with them sooner or later. Madman snorted inwardly when he heard this. Dealing with them will be the next time we enter the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. I don't know if we'll be able to enter again next time. Qin Feiyang smiled inwardly. The blood oath he swore was different from the Primal Chaos God King and the other Demon Kings. The Primal Chaos God King and the other Demon Kings swore not to harm them, but he swore to stay in the Primal Chaos Royal City until the Sky Bell Divine Treasury ended. In other words, Qin Feiyang and the others could kill the Demon Kings. But with the current strength of Qin Feiyang and the others, it was impossible for them to do so. Therefore, they could only come to the Sky Bell Divine Treasure next time. But next time, they might not be able to enter. Because there was a limit to entering the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, those who grasped the ultimate profoundness of the strongest laws couldn't enter. And these people, even Daifuku, would probably have grasped the ultimate profoundness of the strongest laws by the next time the Sky Bell Divine Treasure opened, not to mention Qin Feiyang and the madman. If they hadn't grasped the ultimate profoundness of the strongest laws by that time, they might as well kill themselves. So, what is your guess? Yun Xiang frowned, unable to figure it out. Chapter 3799. You still don't understand? Qin Feiyang looked at Yun Xiang in astonishment. Yun Xiang shook his head. Your reaction is even slower than Brother Wolf's. Madman looked at him in disdain. You already understand? Yun Xiang frowned. Nonsense. Who am I? Madman smiled proudly, but then everyone was taken aback. He turned to Qin Feiyang and asked, What do you mean? Yun Xiang couldn't help but roll his eyes. He thought he really understood. It turned out that he was just pretending to understand. Qin Feiyang was helpless and explained in detail, the Demon Kings want to kill us, but they can't do it themselves. So what will they do? Ask Long Chen for help? Madman asked. Yes. Not only can they not do it themselves, but the spirits and sovereign weapons of the Sky Bell Divine Treasure also can't instigate them, so they can only ask Long Chen for help. Otherwise, when we leave the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, they will have no chance at all. If they ask someone like Long Chen for help, the three Demon Kings will definitely give them some benefits. On one hand, it will be intense, and on the other hand, it will increase their strength. This is what I mean by fortune. Qin Feiyang secretly said. So that's how it is. Everyone suddenly understood. The divine beasts of the land of buried gods and the sea beasts of the sky cloud ocean all have many sovereign weapons. It is very likely that they will become the target of the three Demon Kings. At that time, when the three Demon Kings find them and give them some divine items, isn't it the same as using the three Demon Kings to strengthen our strength? Qin Feiyang secretly smiled. Madman's eyes lit up as he chuckled. They thought they could get rid of us with the help of Sea Lion Emperor and the others, but in the end, they were used by us. When we leave the Sky Bell Divine Treasure and let them know the truth, I'm afraid they will be furious. Not only will they be furious, they will probably go crazy. Yun Zieng also laughed sinisterly. Azure Dragon looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two and couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. Now, it was indeed the stage for these young people. Daifuku transmitted his voice. Then shouldn't we inform the Master Jura and Sea Lion about this in advance? Of course. After all, they don't know what's going on. If we don't tell them in advance, our relationship will definitely be exposed. Qin Feiyang nodded. How? Daifuku was suspicious. That's easy. Contact the Fire Phoenix Sword and the others. Tell the White-Eyed Wolf and Princess Huifeng to go to the Land of Buried Gods and the Heavenly Cloud Sea immediately. Qin Feiyang said. Although the Sea Lion Emperor of the Land of the Buried Gods and the Heavenly Clouds Ocean were very united, and there was definitely a contract between the ruler armaments, Qin Feiyang and the others didn't have the ruler armaments of the Land of the Buried Gods and the Heavenly Clouds Ocean. Naturally, they couldn't directly contact the ruler armaments of the two powers. Therefore, they could only ask the White-Eyed Wolf and Princess Huifeng to make a trip there. As for the ruler armaments of Qin Feiyang, the White-Eyed Wolf and Princess Huifeng, they had already established a contract between them, so no matter where they were, they could secretly contact each other. Then, should we inform Long Chen, Qi Xiaoyun, and the white-bearded old man as well? Because they all know about our relationship with the Land of the Buried Gods and the Heavenly Clouds Ocean. Madman secretly asked. Yes, we should ask them to cooperate. Qin Feiyang nodded. Is it difficult to get them to cooperate with us? Yun Zieng was somewhat worried. It's not difficult. The relationship between Long Chen and us is very complicated. Although we have always been enemies, we have a good impression of each other. Moreover, when he released the dragon's ruler armaments, he also promised me that he would agree to one of my requests in the future. As for Qi Xiaoyun and the white-bearded old man, putting aside the grudge between us and the Qilin race, we also have a good impression of each other. Moreover, this matter is beneficial to them as well. Moreover, we have saved their lives. I believe that Qi Xiaoyun is not a person who will repay kindness with evil. Qin Feiyang said inwardly. Fine, I believe in your judgment. It's easy to contact Qi Xiaoyun and the White-Eyed Wolf. After all, the ruler armaments have already established a contract between them. But how are we supposed to contact Long Chen? Yun Zieng asked doubtfully. There's no need to worry about that. Long before we met, Ducastle had already established a contract with Long Chen's ruler armaments. It's so that we can contact each other more easily in the future. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Yun Zieng shook his head and smiled helplessly. So it's already been arranged. Ducastle and the Sword of the Grim Reaper, help me contact them. They can tell the White-Eyed Wolf our current situation in detail. But it's best to hold back on Long Chen and Qi Xiaoyun. Just get them to cooperate with us. Also, tell Tan Wu, the Hellhound, and the Fire Qilin to be careful as well. Qin Feiyang said inwardly. Okay. Ducastle and the Sword of the Grim Reaper answered before contacting the Fire Phoenix Sword, Lightning God's Hammer, Divine Qilin Sword, and Long Chen's ruler armaments. In the sky, tribulation clouds roiled as blood lightning roared. Crack. Tribulation after tribulation rained down, but the primal chaos divine king, who was standing on the plaza, was completely unharmed. That was because all the tribulation had been blocked by the primal chaos royal city. The might of the primal chaos royal city was many times stronger than the flame magic sword and the black flame castle. Seeing this scene, Qin Feiyang and the others couldn't help but be alarmed. Fortunately, they did not choose to become enemies with the Divine King. Otherwise, the primal chaos royal city alone would be enough to kill them instantly. At the same time, in the sky above a battlefield, a young man in white stood in the sky with a 3-foot-long sword in his hand. The mountains below were in ruins. Several corpses lay on the ground, staining the ground red. These corpses were undead that had formed flesh and blood. Obviously, there had been a battle here before. But even after a battle, the young man in white was not stained with blood. His white robe was still spotless. He looked at the corpses below with a calm expression. It was as if killing these undead spirits was just an easy task. This young man was Long Chen. The sword in his hand was about 3 fingers wide. The left side of the sword was milky white and emitted a holy aura. The right side was snowy white and emitted a bone-piercing chill. On the 2 sides of the sword hilt, there was an ice dragon and a holy dragon respectively. That's right. This was Long Chen's divine weapon. So boring. All of them are so weak. Long Chen shook his head and sighed. He landed in front of the corpses and took their Qian Kuan rings. After checking for a while, he said with a smile, "There are more than a dozen edicts." It was as if these edicts were not very attractive to him. "It's because I'm too strong," the divine weapon in his hand said proudly. "Yes. With you around, even if we encounter the Divine King, we might still be able to fight him. But I'm curious to know what level the Divine King's divine weapon, the Primal Chaos Royal City is." Long Chen was curious. "What's so difficult about that? We can just kill our way to the Primal Chaos Royal City." The sword smiled coldly. "We can't be too ostentatious, lest we attract unnecessary trouble. I just want to quietly find edicts for the dragons and subdue a few more divine weapons. That's all. Let's continue." Long Chen smiled faintly. He put away the Qian Kuan rings and was about to leave. "Wait." But at this moment, the sword suddenly spoke. "What's wrong?" Long Chen looked down at the sword suspiciously. The sword said, "The castle contacted me." "The castle?" Long Chen was slightly stunned and asked, "Is it the castle beside Qin Feiyang?" "That's right. Wait for a while. I'll talk to it and see what it wants." After the sword said that, it went silent. Long Chen waited quietly. After a while, the sword finally reacted. "What's wrong?" Long Chen was suspicious. The sword said, "The castle asked me to tell you that the Black Flame Demon King, Bloodthirsty Demon King, and Feng Tian Demon King of the 10 Great Demon Kings may be looking for you." "Looking for me?" Long Chen was stunned and puzzled. "Why are they looking for me?" The castle didn't say. It only vaguely revealed that Qin Feiyang offended the 3 Great Demon Kings. "The 3 Great Demon Kings may come to you to help deal with Qin Feiyang and Qin Feiyang's companions." The sword said. "Looking for me for help?" Long Chen was flabbergasted. Although he had never seen the 10 Great Demon Kings, he had heard of their fierce names. Each of them was extremely powerful, and there was an even more powerful chaotic divine king behind them. Why would they need his help? Also, he asked you to cooperate and not reveal their relationship with the land of the buried gods and the heavenly cloud sea to those demon kings. The sword said again. Hearing this, Long Chen lowered his head and fell silent. "Why do I feel a little strange? Didn't they say that the chaotic divine king and the 10 great demon kings are very strong? Why do they need our help? Could it be that they just have an undeserved reputation?" The sword was suspicious. Long Chen still didn't say anything. After a long time, he smiled and said, "I don't know whether they have an undeserved reputation or not, but what I can be sure of is that they must be restrained by Qin Feiyang now. Is Qin Feiyang so capable that he can restrain them?" The sword was a little skeptical. "You don't know him. He has this ability 100%. Long Chen chuckled. The sword was still skeptical and asked, then should we cooperate with them? Of course. After all, I promised him last time that I would help him do something. Moreover, if what he said is true and these demon kings want to come to us, it is equivalent to taking the initiative to give us a good fortune. How can we not take a good fortune that is delivered to our door? Long Chen chuckled. That's true. If these demon kings have a good attitude, I can spare their lives. But if they dare to be arrogant and order people around, I will directly send them to hell. The sword smiled coldly. Let's go. Next, you need to keep a low profile. As for me, I need to be more high profile and take the initiative to lure these demon kings to us. Let's see what kind of gift they will give us. Long Chen waved his hand and the sword disappeared. Then, a sovereign divine weapon appeared. This sovereign divine weapon was a palm-sized battle shield. It was yellow all over and emitted a dazzling divine light. This was the Earth Dragon Shield. The sovereign divine weapon of the Earth Dragon clan. The other sovereign divine weapons of the dragons were now in Long Chen's hands. Coupled with his own sovereign divine weapon, if the demon kings went to him alone, they might really be like sheep in a tiger's den. Chapter 3800. At the same time. In another canyon. The white-eyed wolf was entangled with dozens of purple-gold skeletons. Princess Xiaofan watched helplessly from the side. With the white-eyed wolf's strength, it was too easy to kill the purple-gold skeletons. But there was no other way. The white-eyed wolf was too playful. He was simply playing with these purple-gold skeletons. Princess, the sword of Thanatos contacted me and asked me to tell you and the golden-winged wolf king to immediately go to the rendezvous point between the land of buried gods and the heavenly cloud sea. Suddenly, the voice of the fire phoenix sword sounded in Princess Xiaofan's mind. Why? Didn't they go to the rendezvous point with Azure Dragon and Yun Xiang? Princess Xiaofan was suspicious. The fire phoenix sword said, the sword of Thanatos said that they are currently in the Chaos Imperial City. What? Chaos Imperial City. Princess Xiaofan's expression changed drastically. She looked at the white-eyed wolf and shouted, something big has happened. Quickly end the battle. The white-eyed wolf was slightly stunned. Looking at the purple-gold skeletons around him, he grinned and said, I wanted to play with you guys for a while, but I have no choice. My wife has given the order. As a peerless man, I must listen to my wife. As soon as he finished speaking, the supreme profoundness of the supreme laws were activated, and all the purple-gold skeletons were instantly wiped out. Who's your wife? Seeing the white-eyed wolf walking over proudly, Princess Xiaofan rolled her eyes. The white-eyed wolf stepped forward and hugged Princess Xiaofan's slender waist. He chuckled and said, who else could it be other than you? Hooligan. Princess Xiaofan pouted. I am a hooligan. The white-eyed wolf began to take an inch and a yard. He directly leaned forward and asked for a kiss. Don't mess around. Princess Xiaofan pushed the white-eyed wolf away and said in a deep voice, just now, the sword of Thanatos contacted the fire phoenix sword and said that Qin Feiyang and the others are now in the Chaos Divine King. What? The white-eyed wolf was stunned. He shouted, Fire Phoenix Sword, get out here and explain everything to us. The Fire Phoenix Sword flew out from Princess Xiaofan's body and she said angrily, can't you be more polite? I'm a sovereign weapon, after all. So what if you have a sovereign weapon? The white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and asked, what's going on? The Grim Reaper's sword didn't hide anything from the Fire Phoenix sword. After the Fire Phoenix sword relayed the information to the white-eyed wolf and Princess Xiaofan, the two of them looked at each other. They didn't expect that the undead bottleneck-breaking pill would actually work on the undead here. The white-eyed wolf came back to his senses and asked, so now, little Qin Zi is going to beat them at their own game and make them suffer? Yes. However, it is only Qin Feiyang's guess that the 3 demon kings went to find Sea Lion King. The Fire Phoenix Sword said. Even if it's just a guess, it's still worth the trip. The white-eyed wolf chuckled. Soon after, Qi Shaoyun, the white-bearded old man, the Fire Qilin, Tan Wu, and the Hell God Hound also received the news from the Grim Reaper's sword. At that moment, they all began to plan in their hearts. Chaos Royal City. There was only one tribulation left. The Divine King of Chaos was as relaxed as ever. Even the previous 98 tribulations were shattered by the divine might of the Chaos Royal City before they could even get close to her. Boom! The last tribulation descended, and the terrifying divine might destroyed the world. At the same time, the Chaos Royal City also erupted with a monstrous might that was even stronger than before. In just an instant, the two met in the sky. In just a moment of stalemate, the divine might of the Chaos Royal City shattered the last tribulation. Is this the strength of the Chaos Royal City? Qin Feiyang and the others were shocked. This Chaos Royal City was like a dominator. As the tribulation dissipated, golden auspicious clouds rolled over. Soon, a golden ray of auspicious light descended. Just like what happened to Xiao Shui. The body of the Divine King of Chaos began to dissipate rapidly. But a while later, the dissipated body began to reconstruct. But her face was still covered by a layer of mist, and her true appearance could not be seen. A moment later, the golden auspicious light faded. The Divine King of Chaos appeared. She was still wearing a black mask on her face, but unlike before, her skin was softer and her eyes were more moving. There was no longer any undead aura on her body. Congratulations, Divine King. Congratulations, Divine King. The 9 demon kings immediately knelt on the ground and exclaimed. The Divine King of Chaos carefully checked her body for a moment. After confirming that her undead body had been removed, a sincere smile appeared in her eyes. She looked at the 9 demon kings and said, "All of you, rise." The 9 demon kings stood up, their eyes burning with passion. If Xiao Shui's transformation could be faked, then the Divine King of Chaos's transformation definitely could not be faked. In other words, the undead barrier breaking pill was really effective. Looking at the 9 people standing still, the Divine King of Chaos was speechless. What are you guys still standing here for? Hurry up and find the extreme Yang Thunder Fire. Yes, yes, yes. Hurry up and find the extreme Yang Thunder Fire. The 9 demon kings quivered and immediately turned around and left without looking back. Madman looked at the backs of the 9 people with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. He transmitted his voice to Qin Feiyang, "Old Qin, even if they find the extreme Yang Thunder Fire, don't immediately refine the undead barrier breaking pill for them. That's right. Let them be anxious and lower their heads to beg us." Yun Xiang nodded and said fiercely. The other 6 demon kings' attitude towards us is still alright. It's better not to deliberately make things difficult for them. As for Bloodthirsty Demon King, Black Flame Demon King, and Feng Tian Demon King, we really have to let them suffer. Qin Feiyang looked at the backs of Feng Tian Demon, Theta Wang, and a hint of mockery flashed in his eyes. Although he had promised to give them the undead barrier breaking pill, he didn't say that he would give it immediately. Therefore, even if he delayed it until they left the Sky Bell Divine Treasury, it wouldn't be considered breaking his promise. Duh. Accompanied by light footsteps, the Divine King of Chaos walked to the steps of the plaza. He looked down at Qin Feiyang and smiled gratefully. "Thank you. Senior Divine King is too polite. We are just taking what we need." Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand. "It's different. In my opinion, whether it's the ruler's divine weapon, the law miniature, or the law inheritance, they are just external objects. But the undead body is different. For example, no matter how strong I am still an undead. To put it bluntly, I am a lonely ghost. Therefore, even if we have an exchange, should still say thank you. The Divine King of Chaos smiled. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other. It seemed that this Divine King of Chaos wasn't that difficult to get along with. The Divine King of Chaos glanced at the group and smiled. I have always been a man of my words. Since I have promised to give you treasures, I will definitely not go back on my words. When Qin Feiyang and the others heard this, they immediately looked forward to it. The Divine King of Chaos smiled. Tell me, what law inheritance do you want the most? Law inheritance. The eyes of Qin Feiyang and the others trembled. What a big deal. The moment he opened his mouth, it was a law inheritance. Even the strongest law inheritance? Madman asked. Who are you looking down on? Ordinary law inheritance, with my identity and status, can I take it out? The Divine King of Chaos was displeased. Madman was stunned. These words were too bold. However, this daddy likes this kind of bold person. I want the spacetime law inheritance. Madman was the first to speak. Spacetime law inheritance? The Divine King of Chaos was stunned. He looked at Madman suspiciously and asked, have you grasped the spacetime law inheritance? Of course. Madman nodded. The Divine King of Chaos said indifferently, open it and let me take a look. Because only when you have grasped this law inheritance will I give you the inheritance. There's no need for that. Madman pouted. How could he lie? Of course. The Divine King of Chaos' attitude was very firm. There was no room for negotiation. All right. Madman sighed helplessly. With a thought, the power of time surged out. That's true. The Divine King of Chaos nodded. How would I dare to lie to you? Madman chuckled and turned to look at Yun Xiang, who had been staring at him, and said, don't be envious. This is something you can't get. When Yun Xiang heard this, he rolled his eyes with a face full of disdain. Still not convinced? Madman was stunned. Yun Xiang raised his head and looked at the Divine King of Chaos. He cupped his hands and said, this junior wants the inheritance of the law of death. What? The inheritance of the law of death? Madman was stunned. He turned to look at Yun Xiang and asked, have you grasped the law of death? Of course. Yun Xiang smiled proudly and raised his arm. A wisp of the power of death suddenly emerged from his palm. It was like a cluster of black and gray flames, emitting a terrifying aura of death. Damn! It really is the law of death. Madman was shocked. He had grasped the law of death, so he could distinguish the real from the fake at a glance. Don't be envious. This is something you can't get. Yun Xiang returned Madman's words to him without missing a word. His face was full of pride. Madman smiled bitterly. Why is this person also so abnormal? The law of death, spacetime, and destruction were the three strongest laws. The key point was that they were the same as him. Because he also grasped the three strongest laws. Cough, cough. No matter what, she is still the disciple of the Princess of the Divine Kingdom, okay? Qin Feiyang reminded secretly. So what if she is the Princess of the Divine Kingdom? Madman wasn't convinced. I'm a little angry when you say this. Without the Princess of the Divine Kingdom, would there be an ancestor? Without an ancestor, would there be me? Don't forget, what's flowing in my body is the bloodline of the Princess of the Divine Kingdom. Qin Feiyang stared at Madman with displeasure. Madman's expression froze. He smiled awkwardly and said, it seems to be the case. It is, what do you mean it seems to be? Qin Feiyang was speechless. Madman said helplessly, "Fine, fine, fine. From now on, I will treat her like my ancestor." "That should be fine, right?" "That's more like it." Qin Feiyang chuckled. But, Madman changed the topic again and said with a smile, "If I am really the reincarnation of the Blood Demon King, then I am of the same generation as her. Then, if I call her ancestor, can the princess of the Divine Kingdom bear it?" The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. "Speechless now, right?" Madman smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly with a helpless expression. Chapter 3801. One Spacetime Law, One Death Law. The Divine King of Primal Chaos glanced at Madman and Yun Xiang, and then looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. "What about you guys?" Daifuku glanced at the Divine King of Primal Chaos, then lowered his head and asked Qin Feiyang via voice transmission, "Can I have it too?" "Of course. This is a great fortune." Qin Feiyang nodded. Daifuku suddenly became excited. He never thought that following Qin Feiyang and the others would be able to encounter such a good thing. He raised his head and carefully looked at the Divine King of Primal Chaos, and said with a humble expression, "Lord Divine King, I want the inheritance of the cause and effect law, is that okay? You also control the cause and effect law?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback. "Yes." Daifuku nodded. With a wave of his old hand, the power of cause and effect emerged. Madman looked at Daifuku in surprise and said via voice transmission, "I didn't expect you to have mastered two supreme laws. You are much stronger than the ancestors of the Feng people. You flatter me. My cause and effect law is only at the fifth profound. It's not worth mentioning." Daifuku hurriedly waved his hand. "Don't be modest. Why don't you follow us from now on? Staying with the Feng people will only bury your talent." Madman secretly instigated. "What talent can I have?" Daifuku smiled bitterly. "Blockhead, one-track mind." Madman glared at Daifuku with disappointment. Mastering two supreme laws was already considered a great figure in the Sky Cloud realm, but Daifuku himself didn't know? "Okay, I will give you the inheritance of the cause and effect law." The Divine King of Primal Chaos nodded. "Thank you, Lord Divine King." Daifuku repeatedly thanked him. "What about you guys?" The Divine King of Chaos then looked at the Azure Dragon and Qin Feiyang. "Elder Qin, you go first." Qin Feiyang turned to Elder Qin and said with a smile. This old man, the Azure Dragon, did not stand on ceremony. After pondering for a moment, he looked at the Primal Chaos Divine King and said, "I want the law of Devour." Then, he activated his devouring law. The Azure Dragon had mastered two of the most powerful laws, the devouring law and the life law. "All right." The Divine King of Chaos nodded. When it was Qin Feiyang's turn, Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment before nervously asking, "Senior, do you have an inheritance of the life and death laws?" The inheritance of the law of life and death? It wasn't just the Divine King of Primal Chaos. The mad scientist and the others also looked at Qin Feiyang in astonishment. This guy's appetite was really big. He actually wanted the inheritance of the law of life and death? One had to know. If the Divine King of Primal Chaos really had an inheritance of the law of life and death, after Qin Feiyang comprehended it, it would be equivalent to directly mastering the ultimate meaning of the three most powerful laws. They were the law of life and death, the law of death, and the law of life. This was killing three birds with one stone. The Divine King of Primal Chaos came back to his senses and looked at Qin Feiyang. He asked, "You comprehended the law of life and death?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Let me see." The Divine King of Primal Chaos hurriedly said. He seemed a little excited. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the law of life and death emerged. The power of death and the power of life merged together without any rejection. It really is the law of life and death. The divine king of primal chaos stared at the power of life and death and muttered to himself. A moment later, seeing that the divine king of primal chaos didn't have any intention of speaking, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but ask, "Senior Divine King, do you have it?" The divine king of primal chaos came back to his senses and took a deep breath. He shook his head and said, "In this world, it's extremely rare to even comprehend the law of life and death. How could there be an inheritance?" Qin Feiyang couldn't help but show a trace of disappointment. With a wave of his hand, the power of life and death was withdrawn into his body. He said, "Then, do you have the inheritance of the law of karma?" Because Daifuku already wanted to obtain the inheritance of the law of karma. Yes. The divine king of primal chaos nodded. "There's more?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. How many inheritances did the divine king of primal chaos have? Madman and the others were also extremely shocked. In the past, they had discussed that the divine king of primal chaos definitely had many divine items. In the end, it was true, and it was far beyond their imagination. Then, the inheritance of the law of karma. Qin Feiyang activated the power of karma. Okay. The divine king of primal chaos smiled and then looked at the blood ancestor. When he looked at the blood ancestor, the divine king of primal chaos seemed a little unhappy. Thinking about it, it made sense. Someone who had once stolen his secret technique was now going to give him an opportunity. Anyone would feel uncomfortable. "If you insist on giving it to me, I won't be polite." The blood ancestor chuckled. "I didn't say that I had to give it to you." The divine king of primal chaos snorted. The blood ancestor's smile froze. It seemed that he hadn't said that he had to give them an opportunity. Moreover, it wasn't within the range of the blood oath. He had been careless. It was a little too early to be proud. The divine king of primal chaos said indifferently, "But for Qin Feiyang's sake, there's no harm in giving you an inheritance. However, I believe that you want this more." As his voice fell, the divine king of primal chaos waved his hand, and a cage condensed from the power of laws appeared in front of him. This cage wasn't big, only about 5 feet. However, there were actually countless souls of the dead trapped inside. It can't be. The blood ancestor was shocked. These souls of the dead are the souls of the dead who died at my hands. The weakest ones are purple gold skeletons. Moreover, I have erased their consciousness and refined them. After my refinement, these souls don't have any impurities, and they all contain the power of laws. Don't underestimate them. There are tens of millions of souls of the dead, and the power of laws they contain is astonishing. According to my understanding of the soul-devouring secret technique, the power of laws inside is enough for you to upgrade a supreme law from the first to the ultimate. The divine king of primal chaos said indifferently. Tens of millions. And the weakest ones are purple gold skeletons? Hearing this, the blood ancestor's eyes shone brightly. To him, this was even more tempting than the inheritance of laws. Li Feng was the same, and his eyes shone with a green light. "Do you want it?" The divine king of primal chaos looked at the blood ancestor playfully. "Yes." The blood ancestor instinctively nodded. "Then beg me." The divine king of primal chaos said. "Beg you?" The blood ancestor finally calmed down and frowned. "You want to take the opportunity to humiliate me? Then are you willing to be humiliated?" The divine king of primal chaos smiled playfully. "Are you kidding? I have my pride too." The blood ancestor snorted. "Fine. Then I'll give it to your disciple, Li Feng." The divine king of primal chaos waved his hand, and the cage formed by the barrier immediately flew toward Li Feng. "You're giving it to me?" Li Feng looked at the cage in astonishment. The blood ancestor's mouth twitched. He looked at Li Feng and said, "Since it's free, why are you being so polite? Take it." This, Li Feng looked at the blood ancestor. "You really don't want it?" The blood ancestor sighed. "I can't help it. Who asked me to be respected and doted on my juniors? Take it, as long as you don't forget how good I am to you in the future." "That's what you said. There are so many witnesses. If you want to snatch it from me, then don't blame me for betraying my master." Li Feng grinned and put away the undead spirit. "Betraying my master?" The blood ancestor's face darkened. What a white-eyed wolf. However, he also knew that Li Feng was just saying it and wouldn't really do it. After all, they had been together for so many years, and he knew Li Feng's character. Although his temperament had changed because of the loss of his family, his nature was actually not bad. Not to mention other things, one could tell from Li Feng's respect for Qin Feiyang. "It seems that you're quite stubborn." The divine king of primal chaos glanced at the blood ancestor and waved his hand. An inheritance of the laws of time appeared in front of the blood ancestor. "What do you mean?" The blood ancestor was a little stunned. "You don't want it?" the divine king of primal chaos asked. The blood ancestor hurriedly grabbed it and snorted. "It's a waste." "Hypocrite." The divine king of primal chaos shook his head and waved his hand again. Two inheritances of the laws of karma, one of the laws of devour, one of the laws of death, and one of the laws of time and space appeared in front of Qin Feiyang, Daifuku, Azure Dragon, Yun Xiang, and Madman. The five of them immediately held it in their hands, their eyes full of excitement. This was not the ultimate meaning of an ordinary law, but the inheritance of the ultimate meaning of a supreme law. As long as they comprehended these inheritances, they would become the top existences in the sky cloud realm. For them, it could be said that it was a great fortune. "Lord Divine King, what about us?" At this time, an anxious voice sounded. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at Li Zhongsheng. Li Zhongsheng looked at the divine king of primal chaos and smiled flatteringly. "Lord, you can't favor one and discriminate against the other." Xiao Shui and the old poison's faces were also full of desire. You still have the nerve to ask? As a member of the Sky Bell Divine Treasury, you actually betrayed your own world and joined an outsider. You should be glad that I didn't kill you. The divine king of primal chaos snorted. Li Zhongsheng and the other two's necks shrunk. "When the time is up, you will leave with Qin Feiyang. Don't let me see you in the Sky Bell Divine Treasury in the future. Qin Feiyang, after you settle down, come and find me. I have some private matters to discuss with you. As for how to settle down, the Primal Chaos Royal City is so big. You can do as you wish." After saying that, the divine king of primal chaos turned around and walked through the square, entering the main hall without looking back. Phew! Li Zhongsheng and the other two heaved a sigh of relief. They had almost caused a disaster. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Zhongsheng and shook his head. "It's not that I want to criticize you, but you really shouldn't have asked. If she took the initiative to give it to you, you should accept it. If she didn't, don't force it. But this is an inheritance, who doesn't want it?" Li Zhongsheng felt wronged. Xiao Shui and the old poison looked at each other with a disappointed expression. "It's fine. With your strength, whether it's in the Sky Bell Divine Treasury or the Sky Cloud Realm, you are already the strongest existences. Especially in the Sky Cloud Realm, apart from Feather Emperor and a few others, no one is your match. Let's talk about it later. The future is long. You can comprehend it yourself in the future." Qin Feiyang comforted. The old poison looked at Qin Feiyang, then at Xiao Shui and Li Zhongsheng. He sighed. "I am the unluckiest one. You guys have already gotten rid of your undead body, but what about me? I had the extreme Yang Thunder Fire, but it ended up benefiting the Divine King of Primal Chaos. Now, the extreme Yang Thunder Fire that I need is still nowhere to be found. Without the extreme Yang Thunder Fire, Qin Feiyang couldn't refine pills for him. Without pills, how could he get rid of his undead body? The most important thing was, now, their freedom was restricted and they couldn't leave the Primal Chaos Royal City. Being trapped here, how could he go out and find the extreme Yang Thunder Fire? Li Zhongsheng and Xiao Shui were stunned when they heard this. They couldn't help but turn their heads and look at the old poison with sympathy. Compared to the old poison, they were indeed more fortunate. Qin Feiyang looked at the old poison and smiled. Don't worry, I will find a way to get the extreme Yang Thunder Fire for you. Really? The old poison looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. Of course. But the premise is that you have to perform well. Qin Feiyang said. No problem. The old poison was overjoyed and said with a flattering smile, Immortal Qin, do you want me to massage your legs or your back? Scram. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He was already so old, but he was still so indecent. Chapter 3802. Actually, this matter is very easy to solve. Madman patted Old Poison's shoulder and said with an unfathomable smile. Old Poison looked at Madman in astonishment. He couldn't even leave the Primal Chaos Royal City, yet he still dared to say such big words. Madman chuckled and transmitted his voice, haven't the Demon Kings already gone to search for the extreme Yang Lightning Fire? When Old Qin refines it, he will give you an undead barrier-breaking pill. Old Poison was stunned and hurriedly said, Big brother, don't harm me. I can't afford to offend them. Look at your cowardice. Madman looked down on him. They are Demon Kings. I have to be cowardly. Old Poison sighed. Madman's face was dark as he said angrily, useless trash. Do you think that if you don't provoke them now, they will treat you well in the future? Old Poison fell silent. Let me tell you. If there is a chance, they will definitely not show mercy to you. Isn't the Primal Chaos Divine King's attitude towards you all before enough proof? So, what are you afraid of now? Besides, you have to leave the Sky Bell Divine Treasure with us in the future. What can they do to you? Madman said. Old Poison pondered for a while and nodded, that's true. Anyway, they won't dare to violate the blood oath and kill us. That's right. Don't be polite to them in the future. Don't be like a mouse seeing a cat. Just be arrogant and let's see what they can do to you. Madman laughed. Old Poison couldn't help but smile bitterly when he heard this. Although the Demon Kings didn't dare to kill him due to the blood oath, the fear of the Demon Kings was deeply rooted in him. So, no matter what the situation was, he would instinctively feel fear when facing the Demon Kings. It would take a bit of courage to break through this fear. Azure Dragon looked around and asked, Feiyang, are we really going to stay in the Primal Chaos Royal City? What else? Qin Feiyang was helpless. They had already sworn a blood oath to not leave the Primal Chaos Royal City. But this old man feels that living here, whether it's doing things or talking, it's not very convenient. After all, the artifact spirit of the Primal Chaos Royal City has always been watching us. Azure Dragon transmitted his voice. This ancestor also doesn't like the feeling of being spied on. The Blood Ancestor nodded. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, he thought, then let's go to the castle. With the castle's gates closed, it should be able to block the prying eyes of the Chaos Royal City. Madman shook his head and said, I'm afraid that even the castle might not be able to block it. After all, its level is higher than the castle. Of course. If it wants to spy on the situation inside the castle, none of us can stop it. But the premise is that it forcefully uses its divine sense to spy on us. If it doesn't use its spiritual sense, it won't be able to break through the castle's defenses. Furthermore, if it truly intends to forcibly peek at us, the ancient castle will be able to discover it immediately and promptly notify us. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Yun Xiang nodded and said, "It is indeed more comfortable than staying in the Chaos Royal City. At the very least, there was some privacy in the castle, unlike in the Chaos Royal City where they were completely exposed to the Chaos Royal City." Qin Feiyang looked around. There were buildings all around, and there was no place to put the castle. Finally, Qin Feiyang simply let the castle land on the square again. Living here had its pros and cons. The disadvantage was that it was too close to the Chaos Divine King, which was equivalent to being right under the Chaos Divine King's nose. The advantage was also because of the Chaos Divine King. The Chaos Divine King lived in the main hall beside the square, so if the Demon Kings wanted to scheme against them, they naturally wouldn't dare to be so brazen. In other words, the existence of the Chaos Divine King could act as a restraint on the Demon Kings. When the castle landed in the center of the square, Qin Feiyang's group quickly entered the main hall of the castle, and then the door quickly closed. Madman chuckled and said, "I've never felt so safe inside the castle. From what you're saying, this sovereign has never given you a sense of security before?" The castle's displeased voice sounded. "Ah." Madman looked at the castle and laughed, "You can hear me? This sovereign isn't deaf." The castle said in a bad mood. "No sense of security? All these years, if it wasn't for this sovereign's full protection, you little brats would have died countless times. You're really more white-eyed wolf than a white-eyed wolf." "Ha, I'm just joking, don't take it seriously." Madman laughed dryly. "If this sovereign took it seriously, would you still have the chance to stand here and talk? I'll directly throw you out." The castle said indifferently. "Hee hee." Madman bared his teeth. At this moment, a terrifying divine sense rolled in from the outside, directly breaking through the castle's defense and entering the castle. Qin Feiyang and the others were startled. This must be the divine sense of the Chaos Royal City. What did it want to do? Did it want to keep monitoring them like this? Although the Divine King promised not to kill you, you'd better behave. After a while, an emotionless voice sounded from the castle. Following closely, the divine sense of the Chaos Royal City quickly retreated. "You scared us to death without paying with your life?" Li Zhongsheng was indignant. "Couldn't you give us a heads up? You should at least show some respect to each other. I'm afraid that in the future, scares like this will happen often. Be mentally prepared." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. The castle was indeed unable to block the divine sense of the Chaos Royal City. "Why do you care so much? They won't dare to kill us anyway. Come, let's sit down and talk. I'll treat you to some authentic divine wine." Madman smiled calmly. He walked to the table and sat down on a chair, taking out a few jars of unparalleled divine wine. "Yes. We didn't do anything wrong. Why should we be afraid of them?" Yun Xiang nodded and ran to sit next to Madman. He grabbed a jar and laughed. Today's matter should indeed be celebrated. Li Feng also immediately ran over and almost drooled when he saw the jar. The Blood Ancestor, Daifuku, and Azure Dragon looked at each other speechlessly. They were stuck in a place like this, yet they were drinking wine to celebrate? Youngsters nowadays were way too carefree. Since we're already here, let's just take things as they come. Qin Feiyang smiled and strode over as well. He took out the ancient dragon god tea Qi Xiaoyun had given him and started brewing. He had been in the Sky Bell Divine Treasury for so many years, but he had never had a proper sip of tea. "Fine." The Blood Ancestor nodded helplessly and sat down around the table. "What about us?" Li Zhongsheng looked at the old poison and Xiao Shui. Is there even a need to ask? Of course we need to learn how to adapt to their lifestyle. The old poison chuckled and ran to Madman. He stared at the jars on the table and asked, "Is this really divine wine?" "Of course. It's the real deal," Madman said. "Let me take a look." Li Zhongsheng ran over with a jar of divine wine in his arms. He tore the seal and opened the lid. Instantly, the image of a dragon roared out. The wine transformed into a dragon. It was indeed divine wine. Both the old poisonous creature and Li Zhongsheng's eyes glistened. Madman looked at the two in astonishment before he roared with laughter. "Looks like we're all kindred spirits, unlike some people. Drinking tea on such a good day? How despicable. As long as you're happy." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. He knew that the madman was talking about him, but he was already used to it. It went in one ear and out the other. This tea is not simple. As the tea fragrance drifted out, a trace of bewilderment appeared in Xiao Shue's eyes. She walked over to Qin Feiyang and looked at the smoke rising from the teapot. "You like tea as well?" Qin Feiyang blanked out. He looked at Xiao Shui and asked with a smile. "I used to try it occasionally. I don't really like it." Xiao Shui sat down beside Qin Feiyang and smiled. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "Give it a try later. I guarantee you'll fall in love with it. This is authentic divine tea." "Divine tea?" Xiao Shui was taken aback. When Li Zhongsheng and the old poison heard this, they also hugged their wine jars and ran to Qin Feiyang's side. They curiously stared at the teapot. "Damn! What do you mean? You want to eat from the bowl and look at the pot? To think that I treated you guys as kindred spirits." Madman didn't hide it. "We'll take it all." Li Zhongsheng chuckled. "Take it all? It looks like your stance isn't firm at all. Those who aren't firm aren't worthy of being with me." Madman snorted. Li Zhongsheng and the old poison couldn't help but roll their eyes. When Qin Feiyang saw the lively atmosphere, he could not help but smile. It had been a long time since he had been this relaxed and carefree. He poured a few cups of tea and pushed them to Xiao Shui, Li Zhongsheng, the old poison, Daifuku, the blood ancestor, and Azure Dragon. Everyone picked up the teacup and tasted it. They couldn't help but look intoxicated. As expected, Xiao Shui immediately fell in love with the ancient dragon god tea. "Do the three of you want to drink it?" Li Zhongsheng asked as he raised his head to look at the three divine weapons hovering in the air beside him. They were curiously examining the ancient castle. The three divine ruler weapons were stunned for a moment. They then looked at Li Zhongsheng, ready to spit at him to death. They were divine weapons. How could they drink it? "If you really want to try it, I have a way. Let Qin Feiyang soak a big pot for you to take a bath. Then, you'll be able to taste the tea. It's quite luxurious to bathe in divine tea." Li Zhongsheng smirked. "Are you messing with us? Are you looking for a beating?" The three divine weapons were furious. It was as if he was purposely angering them. Qin Feiyang put down the teacup, looked at the three divine weapons, and said apologetically, "I'm sorry. I wanted to let you leave after saving you, but I didn't expect this to happen. I can only let you stay with us for now." The three sovereign divine weapons fell silent when they heard this. Qin Feiyang looked at the three sovereign divine weapons suspiciously. Seeing that they didn't say anything for a long time, he smiled and said, "If you really want to blame me, I have nothing to say. After all, this matter started because of me. If it weren't for him, the three divine weapons would be living a carefree and comfortable life. They wouldn't have to suffer like this." Chapter 3803. When the blood ancestor heard this, he couldn't help but put down his teacup. He looked at the three sovereign weapons and sighed. In the end, it's all my fault. If I hadn't stolen the Divine King of Primal Chaos secret technique back then, why would the Black Flame Demon King come looking for trouble with us? You misunderstood. We don't want to blame you. Seeing Qin Feiyang and the Blood Ancestor blaming themselves, the three sovereign weapons couldn't help but laugh. Huh? Qin Feiyang and the Blood Ancestor looked at each other. They didn't want to blame them? The Golden Bell sighed. Actually, we are thinking about what to do in the future. What's there to think about? When we leave the Sky Bell Divine Treasury, you will be free. At that time, you will be able to soar wherever you want. How can it be that simple? Green Cauldron smiled bitterly and sighed. Do you think the Divine King of Primal Chaos will let us go after you leave the Sky Bell Divine Treasury? Even if the Divine King of Primal Chaos is magnanimous and doesn't bicker with us, what about the Black Flame Demon King? Yes. When the Black Flame Demon King wanted to capture you, we were openly helping you. The Black Flame Demon King wanted to kill us long ago. If he didn't need us as bait to lure you in, he would have destroyed us after you escaped that day. The Golden Bell and the Ancient Pagoda spoke one after another, their words full of worry. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang and the others fell silent. Indeed. With the Black Flame Demon King's personality, once the blood oath was over, he would definitely not let the three sovereign weapons go. Qin Feiyang looked at the three sovereign weapons and asked, then, should I go talk to the Divine King of Primal Chaos again? No. If you go and look for her again, she'll think that you're pushing your luck and making things worse. That will definitely anger her. The Blood Ancestor immediately objected. I don't agree either. The madman shook his head. Then what should we do? Qin Feiyang frowned. How about, Madman rolled his eyes and looked at the three sovereign divine weapons. He smiled and said, come with us to the Sky Cloud Realm. Yeah. Follow us to the Sky Cloud Realm. Even if they want to take revenge, they won't have the chance. Li Feng nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. If the Green Cauldron three sovereign divine weapons were willing to go to the Sky Cloud Realm, then they wouldn't have refused his invitation. That is indeed a solution. Lu Ding said after a moment of silence. Qin Feiyang looked up at the Green Cauldron. Lu Ding smiled faintly. To tell you the truth, we have already discussed this. If you really come to save us, you might as well go to the Sky Cloud Realm to have a look. Moreover, this is the only way to escape now. Really? Qin Feiyang was overjoyed. But you can't restrict our freedom. The Golden Bell said. Of course not. You can go wherever you want and do whatever you want, as long as you don't do anything outrageous. Qin Feiyang smiled. Green Cauldron laughed and said, do we look like those cold-blooded Dominator divine weapons? It doesn't look like it. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Then that's right. Green Cauldron chuckled. Old Qin, we've really hit the jackpot this time. Jackpot. Madman laughed secretly. Qin Feiyang was also full of smiles. Not only did they obtain so many Supreme Law inheritances, but they also gained the trust of the three sovereign divine weapons. Now, the total number of sovereign divine weapons around them had already far surpassed any force in the Sky Cloud Realm. They had to admit that their decision this time was really wise. If they didn't agree to stay in the Chaos Royal City, how could they obtain so many inheritances? One must know. There were a total of 6 Supreme Law inheritances. If they were to rely on themselves to find them, even if they had more than 900 years, it would be impossible to find so many. They might not even be able to find one Supreme Law inheritance. Come on, let's toast and celebrate. Madman laughed. Everyone was grinning from ear to ear as well, and they held up their teacups and wine jugs as they gathered together, causing them to reveal a scene of happiness and harmony. At the same time, Outside the city, above a mountain range. Bloodthirsty Demon King, Feng Tian Demon King, and Black Flame Demon King gathered together. Their faces were extremely gloomy. This damn little bastard, he really didn't miss anything. I thought he had neglected the others, but I didn't expect him to remember them while refining a pill. Black Flame Demon King was annoyed. Then what should we do now? Do we really have to watch them leave the Sky Bell Divine Treasure in the future? Bloodthirsty Demon King asked. This lord will absolutely not allow this kind of thing. Feng Tian Demon King roared. Then what can you do? We have already made a blood oath to not personally make a move and hurt them. Bloodthirsty Demon King frowned. Black Flame Demon King looked at the two suspiciously and asked, then again, will this blood oath really come true? Who knows? Bloodthirsty Demon King coldly snorted. But this kind of thing, none of them dared to try it. What if it really came true? What if it really destroyed them? Feng Tian Demon King pondered for a while before his eyes suddenly lit up. He looked at the two and said, how about this, didn't Qin Feiyang and the others also make a blood oath? If they can't leave the Primal Chaos Royal City, then we can forcefully take them away. Good idea. This way, if the blood oath really comes true, they will definitely be instantly killed by the blood oath. Bloodthirsty Demon King nodded. Good my ass. Can you grow a brain? If we take them away from the Primal Chaos Royal City, won't it be the same as personally hurting them? If the blood oath really comes true, we will also die with them. What are our identities? What are their identities? Is it worth it to die together with them? Black Flame Demon King smiled disdainfully. That makes sense. Feng Tian Demon King and Bloodthirsty Demon King nodded. If they really died together, it would be too unworthy. Let's leave it at that for now. We have seen the method of the blood oath with our own eyes. When we go to find the extreme young lightning fire, we will find an undead to test it out. We will discuss it again after the results of the experiment. Black Flame Demon King pondered for a while and said. Okay. Feng Tian Demon King and Bloodthirsty Demon King nodded. Immediately after, the three of them disappeared at the end of the mountain. On the other side, Snow White Queen and Myriad Poison's Demon King walked together, carefully searching for the extreme young lightning fire. Myriad Poison's Demon King suddenly turned to Snow White Queen and asked, do you think Feng Tian Demon King and the others will give up? With their personality, they will definitely think of a way to get rid of Qin Feiyang and the others. Snow White Queen didn't even think about it and smiled. Then should we stop them? Because I think Lord Divine King seems to have a good impression of this Qin Feiyang. Myriad Poison's Demon King frowned. I'm sure. I can see that too. Snow White Queen nodded, then said, but why should we stop them? This is their own matter, and you know the personality of Feng Tian Demon King and the others. If we stop them, they will blame us for being nosy. That's true. As long as it doesn't hinder us from getting rid of our undead bodies. Myriad Poison's Demon King nodded with a smile. That's right. In short, I also have a good impression of this Qin Feiyang. Because from his words, it's not hard to see that he is a person who values friendship, understands gratitude, and is responsible. I believe that as long as you get along with him sincerely, you will get along very well. Snow White Queen smiled. Half a day passed. In the ancient castle. Seeing that they had drunk enough, Madman stood up and said, let's not keep drinking like this, let's hurry up and comprehend the law inheritance. Yun Xiang and the others also put down their wine jars. Azure Dragon drank his tea and shook his head with a smile. You guys go, I won't go. Qin Feiyang and the others were stunned. Didn't Azure Dragon also obtain the law of devour inheritance? Azure Dragon looked at the tightly closed door of the ancient castle with a trace of vigilance and said in a low voice, I won't hide it from you guys, I want this inheritance to be left for that child Shura. What? Yun Xiang was astonished, asking, You're asking for it for senior brother? Yes. Azure Dragon nodded. Qin Feiyang and the others also looked at each other. One must know. This was an inheritance, not a miniature. An inheritance was equivalent to directly giving you an ultimate profound, while a miniature was only to help you open the door to the ultimate. After that, you still need to rely on yourself to comprehend it. These were two different natures. But Azure Dragon was actually willing to give an inheritance to someone else? And it was an inheritance of the strongest law's ultimate profound. This breadth of mind, this generosity, this love and contribution to the younger generation, it was really admirable. Everyone finally understood. Why could the human emperor and feather emperor have such glory today? Why were the human emperor and feather emperor so loved and respected? This was because of Azure Dragon. They were all influenced by Azure Dragon's great breadth of mind. As the saying goes, like father, like son. This sentence could also be used on Azure Dragon and the human emperor. This junior admires you. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, stood up, and bowed to Azure Dragon. The three juniors, Frenzy, Li Feng, and Yun Xiang, also stood up and bowed deeply. Because Azure Dragon was qualified to make them bow. I can't accept it. Azure Dragon waved his hand. Old man, after this mess, this ancestor is a little embarrassed. Fine. The blood ancestor helplessly stared at Azure Dragon, took out the inheritance of the law of time, and threw it to Qin Feiyang. Huh? Qin Feiyang looked at the blood ancestor in shock. Old man, are you crazy again? The frenzy also had a look of surprise. Leave it for the white-eyed wolf. Hasn't he always wanted it? Moreover, he has mastered 6 supreme laws, so his future achievements will definitely be higher than this ancestor's. So, this inheritance will be of great value to him. The blood ancestor smiled faintly. For the white-eyed wolf? Qin Feiyang and the frenzy looked at each other. This was too unexpected. Li Feng also had a look of shock. When he came back to his senses, he roared, I am your disciple. You should be content. The blood ancestor rolled his eyes at Li Feng. The divine king of primal chaos said that the souls of the dead that he gave to Li Feng were enough to directly upgrade a supreme law from the first to the ultimate. I'm just saying. Li Feng smiled. Of course, he couldn't compete with the white-eyed wolf. He regarded Qin Feiyang as his big brother, and the white-eyed wolf was no exception. Chapter 3804. Qin Feiyang glanced at Li Feng, then looked at the blood ancestor and shook his head. Ancestor, you really don't have to do this, enough. What's wrong with a man being so wishy-washy? Besides, the human emperor and feather emperor are like brothers to me. It's only right that I take care of you. We'll talk about it later. Do you think this ancestor is just giving you an inheritance? No. This ancestor is giving you the hope and burden of humanity's future. In the future, you will replace this ancestor, the human emperor, the feather emperor, and of course, the azure dragon and the other guardian beasts to protect the Skycloud realm. The blood ancestor said. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, took the inheritance, and nodded solemnly. Don't worry, we won't let you down. That's enough. The blood ancestor smiled. Li Feng rolled his eyes and looked at the blood ancestor. Master, in fact, your time law can also be upgraded to the ultimate level. What nonsense are you talking about? The blood ancestor looked at Li Feng suspiciously. He couldn't even leave the primal chaos royal city, so how could he upgrade it? Li Feng waved his hand, and the imprisoned souls of the dead appeared. Your path to success is through them. You want to give them to this ancestor? What about you? The blood ancestor frowned. Who said I'll give them to you? I mean, we'll absorb them together. Didn't the primal chaos divine king say that? These souls of the dead are enough for us to upgrade a supreme law from the first to the ultimate level. My spacetime law has already been upgraded to the ultimate level, and with the help of the Ice Phoenix, I've devoured many souls of the dead, which strengthened my spacetime law quite a bit. In other words, I might only need half of these souls of the dead. As for you, I believe you've also devoured many souls of the dead over the years, so your time law must have been strengthened a lot. It might even be stronger than mine. So, if I'm not wrong, these souls of the dead should be enough to upgrade our spacetime law and time law to the ultimate level. Li Feng explained. Yes. Why didn't this ancestor think of this? The blood ancestor slapped his head. Only then did Qin Feiyang and the others come to their senses. These souls were enough to raise a law from the first to the ultimate level. Li Feng and the blood progenitor's laws of time and space had long since reached the ultimate level. Furthermore, they had devoured quite a number of souls of the dead after reaching the ultimate level. Perhaps the souls of the dead that the divine king of chaos was giving them could really help them break through. Qin Feiyang looked at the blood ancestor and Li Feng. He smiled and said, "Then you can try first. It would be best if it works, but if it doesn't, we'll think of something else." What is it? The blood ancestor was suspicious. According to my observations, of the 10 great demon kings, Theta Wang's people are the most hostile towards us. As for the other demon kings, they don't have any hostility toward us, but they don't have any good impression of us either. However, Snow Queen seems to have a good attitude towards us. Who knows, we might be able to ask her for help. Qin Feiyang smiled. All right then. The blood ancestor looked at the souls of the dead and couldn't resist the temptation. Qin Feiyang then looked at Daifuku and said, "Don't tell me that you want the inheritance of the law of karma for your princess?" "What else?" Daifuku asked. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. These people of the older generation were truly admirable. However, this was only limited to people like Azure Dragon, Daifuku, and the Blood Ancestor. If it were other antiques, would they still want him to give away the inheritance of the ultimate level of law? Dream on. Alright, all of you can go into seclusion. You can choose any cultivation room you want. Patriarch, I'll have to trouble you to set up a time array to save time. As for Elder Qing and Daifuku, don't just sit around. Although you have to give away the inheritance, you still have your law miniature. Qin Feiyang smiled. I don't need you to remind me. When you go and meet the Divine King of Primal Chaos, be careful. Azure Dragon reminded. I know. Qin Feiyang nodded and swept his gaze over everyone, feeling gratified. Let's talk about the madman first. Now that he had grasped the ultimate level of the law of thunder, the law of death, the law of war, and the law of slaughter, he already had his own miniature. As for the law of spacetime, the law of spacetime? When Qin Feiyang thought of this, he was slightly stunned. Previously, when he ransacked the treasury of the black-robed old man's group, he had obtained 2 miniature versions of the law of spacetime. At that time, the madman and Yun Xiang each took one. With the miniature version, why would the madman still want the inheritance of the law of spacetime? Senior brother, did you make a mistake? Don't you have a miniature version of the law of spacetime? Qin Feiyang looked at the madman suspiciously. I know. But the miniature version hasn't merged yet. The madman nodded. Yes. Qin Feiyang suddenly patted his head. Back then, after receiving the miniature version, Li Zhongsheng immediately brought them to look for Xiao Shui. Then, they went to the Flame Mountain Range to look for the extreme Yang Thunder Fire. Then, they encountered the old poison. Finally, the bloodthirsty Fiend King appeared, and they came to the Primal Chaos Royal City. Therefore, it wasn't just the madman. Yun Xiang, Daifuku, Azure Dragon, and even Qin Feiyang didn't merge their miniature versions. The madman chuckled, now that I have the inheritance, I naturally don't need this miniature version of the law of spacetime. You can leave it to Brother Wolf. After the madman finished speaking, he returned the miniature version of the law of spacetime to Qin Feiyang. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and kept the miniature version of the law of spacetime. In other words, after receiving the inheritance of the law of spacetime, the madman would have grasped the two ultimate levels of the law of thunder and the law of time. The law of death, law of slaughter, and law of war would also have their miniature versions. It could be said that, the madman's strength had undergone a tremendous change after entering the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. Yun Xiang also gained a lot. First was the Yin-Yang Mirror, a sovereign weapon, then the inheritance of the law of death, and the miniature version of the law of spacetime. There was also Princess Xiaofan. Her harvest could be said to be the greatest. The Feng people's sovereign weapons had all submitted, as well as the Frost Sparrow sword and the Phoenix Bell. Then there was the inheritance of the law of fire, the miniature version of the law of devour, and the law of karma that Daifuku had prepared for her. Of course, the one who gained the most was Qin Feiyang himself. Although the miniature version of the law of destruction was only the law of destruction, and the inheritance was only the law of karma, he had obtained more than a dozen sovereign weapons. The Ice Phoenix Sword, the White Dragon Sword, the Black Dragon Mirror, the Golden Dragon Spear, the Heavenly Star Divine Sword, the All-Creation Cauldron, the Void Mirror, the Edgeless Heavy Sword, the Silver Moon Divine Sword, the Golden Sun Divine Sword, and now the Green Cauldron, the Crimson Golden Bell, and the Ancient Pagoda. These were the 13 sovereign weapons. This didn't include the Ghost Divine King Throne, the Crimson Dragon Shield, and Li Zhongsheng's sovereign weapons that the White-Eyed Wolf had obtained. In short, even if he stayed in the Chaos Royal City for the next few years, he already had the ability to compete with the various forbidden zones. Of course, Longchen might become an accident. If he left Longchen alone, he would definitely be able to subdue many sovereign weapons and find a large number of law of destruction. As for the inheritance, Qin Feiyang didn't consider it. If the inheritance was so easy to find, the last time the Feather Emperor and the others entered the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, the little rabbit wouldn't be the only one who found the inheritance of two supreme laws. However, it seemed that he couldn't leave Longchen alone. If Longchen subdued the sovereign weapons and found the law of destruction for himself, it wouldn't matter. But if it was for the dragons, then he couldn't sit back and do nothing. Because if the dragons became stronger, it wouldn't be good for him. Then you guys go into seclusion first. I'll go find the Divine King. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. He looked at Frenzy and the others and said this. Then he turned around and opened the gate of the ancient castle. He quickly walked out. Will there be any problems? Azure Dragon was worried. Don't worry. Looking at the Primal Chaos Divine King's attitude, there shouldn't be any problems. Blood Ancestor said, but he wasn't sure. After Qin Feiyang left the ancient castle, the gate of the ancient castle quickly closed. Qin Feiyang glanced at the ancient castle and walked to the side hall. The gate didn't close. Qin Feiyang walked to the gate and looked at the Primal Chaos Divine King, who was sitting above. He cupped his hands and said, "Senior. Come in." The Primal Chaos Divine King smiled faintly. Qin Feiyang walked into the hall. "Sit." The Primal Chaos Divine King pointed at the stone chair next to him. "Okay." Qin Feiyang walked over and sat on the stone chair. He smiled and said, "I wonder why Senior Divine King called this junior here in private?" The Primal Chaos Divine King said, "Open your law of life and death again and let me take a good look." "So you're curious about the law of life and death?" Qin Feiyang mumbled, and with a thought, the power of life and death emerged. The Primal Chaos Divine King waved her hand, and a strand of the power of life and death shot through the air and floated above her palm. Then, the primal chaos divine king silently looked at the strand of life and death power. Qin Feiyang was a bit confused. Wasn't it all law energy? What was there to see? After a long while, the primal chaos divine king waved her hand, and the strand of life and death power returned to Qin Feiyang's body. She asked, "What stage should you reach in your comprehension of the law of life and death?" "The fifth profound." Qin Feiyang truthfully replied. The primal chaos divine king nodded and smiled. "Then are you in a state where you can't move an inch?" "How do you know?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. Although he had comprehended the fifth profound, he had not made any progress in the supreme profound. The primal chaos divine king smiled faintly, and a wave of law energy rushed out of her body. Qin Feiyang looked at the wave of law energy and suddenly stood up. How was this possible? It was also the power of life and death. "You didn't see wrong, I have also comprehended the law of life and death. This is why I asked you to come. Because you are the second person I know besides me to have activated the law of life and death." The primal chaos divine king smiled. "Then what about your eyes?" Qin Feiyang looked at the primal chaos divine king's eyes. The primal chaos divine king's eyes were black and white, very similar to the eye of life and death, but there was no power of life and death, so he was not sure. "My eyes? My eyes were born like this, and it has nothing to do with the eye of life and death. I also don't like to activate the eye of life and death, because I don't like to pry into other people's secrets." The primal chaos divine king smiled faintly, and her gaze and tone towards Qin Feiyang were even gentler. Chapter 3805. Born with it? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. But this pair of eyes is not simple. Don't be so curious, because only enemies have the chance to see the true face of this pair of eyes. And those who have seen the true face of this pair of eyes have already become ghosts of hell. The divine king of chaos chuckled. Qin Feiyang was indeed very curious, but when he heard the last sentence, he couldn't help but shudder. So dangerous? Then forget it. But this was something to be happy about. Because it wasn't hard to tell from the divine king of chaos's words that the divine king of chaos didn't see him as an enemy. Qin Feiyang asked, "Senior, you must have comprehended the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death by now, right? Can this junior see it?" "No." The divine king of chaos shook his head. "What? You don't?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "That's right. The ultimate meaning of the law of life and death is too difficult. I haven't been able to comprehend it since I started cultivating. I've been stuck at the highest level. But when I got rid of my undead body, I suddenly had an epiphany, so I'm going to go into seclusion for a while." The divine king of chaos smiled. "Seclusion?" Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and hurriedly said, "Senior, you can't go into seclusion at this time." The divine king of chaos looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. He didn't want her to go into seclusion. What's going on? Logically speaking, Qin Feiyang should be very happy to hear that she was going into seclusion. After all, being watched by the divine king every day, no one would feel comfortable. But soon. The divine king of chaos revealed a look of realization and said with a smile, "You're worried that the black flame demon king, the celestial demon king, and the bloodthirsty demon king will harm you. You can also see the evil in their hearts?" Qin Feiyang was a little surprised. "Of course." The divine king of primal chaos nodded and smiled faintly. "They are my subordinates. After following me for so many years, I know them all too well. I can tell from their every move what they want to do." "Then why are you still in seclusion? You're the only one I trust." Qin Feiyang was speechless. "Don't worry, With the blood oath, they wouldn't dare to make a move themselves even if they were plotting something. Furthermore, I will instruct the Primal Chaos Royal City to personally escort you out of here when the time comes. The Divine King of Primal Chaos smiled. That's good. Qin Feiyang breathed a sigh of relief. With the deterrence of the Primal Chaos Royal City, these demon kings did not dare to act recklessly. The reason I called you here is actually because I want to explain the profound mysteries of the laws of life and death to you before I enter seclusion. I hope this will be of some help to you. The Divine King of Chaos smiled. Upon hearing this, Qin Feiyang's expression suddenly became sluggish. This was simply an unexpected surprise. What was the most important thing in the path of cultivation? Someone would definitely say that it was resources. But in fact, that was not the case. The most important thing was a guide. This was also the reason why people in the world raced to join various forces. Because after joining these forces, there would be someone to teach you cultivation and guide you. Even if it was just a little bit of guidance, it could save you a lot of time and avoid many detours. And Qin Feiyang's current predicament was that he lacked a guide. Because in this world, there were too few people who had mastered the laws of life and death. Before meeting the Divine King of Primal Chaos, he thought that he was the only one in the world who had activated the laws of life and death. Therefore, everything about the laws of life and death had to be figured out by himself. And now, there was suddenly someone who had activated the laws of life and death, and his comprehension and attainment were higher than his. Most importantly, he was willing to personally teach him. One could imagine. How good would that be for him? The Divine King of Primal Chaos teased, looking at your reaction, you seem to be a little, yes. I couldn't ask for more. Thank you, Senior Divine King. This junior will repay you well in the future. Qin Feiyang hurriedly said. What a joke, how could he let such a good thing slip away from under his nose? It could be said that, this made him even more excited than receiving the inheritance of the ultimacy of termination. No matter how strong the inheritance of the ultimacy of life and death was, it was only an ultimate law. Once the laws of life and death were comprehended to the ultimacy of life and death, it could crush all the other ultimate laws and even sovereign divine weapons. Although the Divine King of Primal Chaos was only explaining to him the ultimacy of life and death, there was still a long way to go before it could crush all the other ultimate laws and sovereign divine weapons. But without the ultimacy of life and death, how could there be an ultimacy? So it was clear at a glance which was more important. It wouldn't be too late to receive the inheritance of the ultimacy of karma after listening to the Divine King of Primal Chaos's explanation. Boom! As the Divine King of Primal Chaos waved his hand, the door of the hall closed, and the hall immediately became a world that was isolated from the outside world. Apart from the Primal Chaos Royal City, no one knew what the two were doing in the hall. 3 days later, a skinny old man flew into the Primal Chaos Royal City at lightning speed. He was wearing a long black robe, and his deep-set eyes glowed with a dark green light. His thin body, coupled with his erratic and weak aura, made him look like a ghost. However, there was an unconcealable joy on his wrinkled face. Swoosh! The black-robed old man landed in front of the ancient castle's door. He didn't get angry when he saw the tightly shut door. Instead, he spoke in a very polite tone and said with a hoarse voice, "Brother Qin, please come out and meet me." "I'm sorry, Qin Feiyang isn't here right now." The ancient castle's voice sounded. "He's not here?" The black-robed old man was stunned. He turned around and scanned the Primal Chaos Royal City. He asked suspiciously, "He left the Primal Chaos Royal City? Didn't he swear a blood oath that he can't leave?" "He didn't leave the Primal Chaos Royal City," the ancient castle said indifferently. "He didn't? Then why can't I sense his aura in the city? Is he purposely making things difficult for me?" The black-robed old man frowned. Since he didn't leave the Primal Chaos Royal City, he must be in the ancient castle. He was clearly inside, but he said he wasn't. If he wasn't making things difficult for him, then what was? The ancient castle wanted to explain, but after hearing this, he couldn't be bothered to waste his breath and remained silent. What do you mean? The black-robed old man's face gradually showed a hint of viciousness. It was as if he was an awakening devil. There seemed to be countless ferocious ghosts roaring around the black-robed old man. It was obvious. He was definitely a devil who killed people like scything flax. But at this moment, with a loud bang, the main hall beside the square opened. The black-robed old man hurriedly looked at the main hall and saw a white-robed young man walk out with his head lowered. He seemed to be in deep thought. It was Qin Feiyang. What's going on? He actually walked out of the Divine King's palace? The black-robed old man was surprised. After the Divine King of Primal Chaos successfully passed the tribulation, the Fiend Kings immediately left the city to search for the extreme Yang Thunder Fire. Therefore, they didn't know that Qin Feiyang had comprehended the law of life and death and that the Divine King of Primal Chaos had given them. After Qin Feiyang came out of the main hall, he stopped on the stairs and lowered his head without saying a word. He didn't notice the black-robed old man at all. What are you thinking about? Why are you so engrossed? The black-robed old man walked over suspiciously. Even though he was standing at the bottom of the stairs, Qin Feiyang didn't notice. There was a hint of understanding and confusion between his eyebrows. The black-robed old man became more and more confused. He couldn't help but raise his skinny arm and wave it in front of Qin Feiyang, but there was still no reaction. Brother Qin? After waiting for a while, seeing that Qin Feiyang was still the same, the black-robed old man couldn't help but ask. Qin Feiyang quivered and hurriedly looked in the direction of the voice. When he saw the black-robed old man, he was slightly stunned. I've been waiting for you here for a long time. The black-robed old man smiled bitterly. Waiting for me? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. When he came to his senses, he hurriedly smiled apologetically and said, "Sorry, I was too engrossed in my thoughts." "It's okay." The black-robed old man waved his hand. The amazing aura in his body had been restrained when Qin Feiyang came out of the main hall. "Senior, are you looking for me?" Qin Feiyang looked around and saw that the black-robed old man was alone, so he asked suspiciously. The black-robed old man directly took out a thunder fire of extreme yang. "So fast?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. The black-robed old man smiled and said, "I was lucky. Not long after I went out, I heard about the thunder fire of extreme yang. In that case, Junior will congratulate Senior in advance." Qin Feiyang smiled and reached out to take the thunder fire of extreme yang. "It's all thanks to you." The black-robed old man shook his head. "You're welcome." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, looked at the ancient castle, and said with a smile, "Then I'll go and refine it first. Please wait for a moment." "Okay." The black-robed old man nodded. He was quite tactful. Even when the Divine King of Chaos wanted to enter the ancient castle to take a look at the process of refining the pill, Qin Feiyang didn't let him in, let alone him. Moreover, at this time, he couldn't offend Qin Feiyang. Although he had promised to refine the undead bottleneck-breaking pill for them, there was no time limit. He could refine it now or when he left the Heavenly Bell Divine Treasure. If he didn't know, he wouldn't care. But now that he knew about the existence of the undead bottleneck-breaking pill, and even the Divine King of Chaos had gotten rid of his undead body, he didn't want to wait a moment longer. Not to mention seeing the refined undead bottleneck-breaking pill later, even looking at Qin Feiyang walking toward the ancient castle now, he couldn't help but feel excited. Finally, he could get rid of his undead body and be reborn as a human. When Qin Feiyang walked to the front of the door, he suddenly thought of something and turned to look at the black-robed old man, asking, may I ask how I should address Senior? The black-robed old man laughed. Everyone calls me Ghost Demon King. Ghost Demon King, Qin Feiyang muttered, and laughed. Then please wait a moment, I'll be right out. No problem. The black-robed old man laughed hoarsely. Not long after entering the castle, Qin Feiyang came out with an undead bottleneck-breaking pill and handed it to the Ghost Demon King with both hands. Thank you. The Ghost Demon King happily took the undead bottleneck-breaking pill. No need to thank me. I only hope that Senior can take care of this Junior in the future. Qin Feiyang smiled. Now that he had offended Feng Tian Demon King, Bloodthirsty Demon King, and Black Flame Demon King, he would try his best not to offend the other Demon Kings in the future. Moreover, there was still a long way to go, and he might need the help of these Demon Kings in the future. It's a small matter. If Brother Qin needs any help in the future, feel free to look for me. How could an old and shrewd person like the Ghost Demon King not understand Qin Feiyang's thoughts? Chapter 3806. Alright, hurry up and transcend the tribulation. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he returned to the castle and closed the door. Spirit Demon King looked at the closed door and a smile flashed across his eyes. As Snow White Queen said, this young man's character was indeed not bad. Not to mention anything else, just calling him Senior made him feel very comfortable. Subsequently, he left the square and found a remote place to begin transcending the tribulation. At the same time, a heavenly tribulation also descended on a mountain range. Below, a middle-aged man looked at the heavenly tribulation and fled with a face full of horror. But in the end, he was still shattered by the heavenly tribulation. Not far away, 3 people were still standing. These 3 people were Bloodthirsty Demon King, Feng Tian Demon King, and Black Flame Demon King. When they saw this scene, their faces were still filled with horror. Not only did the blood oath come true, but it also instantly killed an undead who had condensed a body of flesh and blood. When they were looking for their target, they also deliberately observed the other party's strength. The middle-aged man who was killed by the heavenly tribulation not only condensed a body, but also grasped the ultimate profound of the strongest law. But even so, he was unable to block the attack of the heavenly tribulation. This was enough to prove that even they would not be able to block the heavenly tribulation. This little bastard is really ruthless. He actually made us swear such a terrifying oath. Feng Tian Demon King clenched his fists. In the past, he did not care much, but at this moment, seeing an undead die under the heavenly tribulation with his own eyes, a wave of resentment rose in his heart. But he did not think about it. It was not Qin Feiyang who forced them to swear a blood oath. They were all willing to do it for the sake of obtaining the undead barrier-breaking pill. Could this be blamed on Qin Feiyang? So, it was useless to say anything to an unreasonable person. Then what do we do now? Bloodthirsty Demon King frowned. Although he was like a child, his mind was extremely vicious. We definitely can't do it ourselves. Black Flame Demon King shook his head. Besides the Divine King and us, who else can beat them? Moreover, they are now hiding in the Chaos Royal City. As long as they don't leave the Chaos Royal City, even if we find someone who has the strength to kill them, it is meaningless. Feng Tian Demon King said. They have also made a blood oath, so no matter what, they will definitely not leave the Chaos Royal City. Furthermore, now, the matter of the undead barrier-breaking pill has already spread throughout the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. The undead of the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, we can't even get enough time to curry favor with them, let alone kill them for us. Besides, the blood oath also covers it. We can't instigate these undead to kill them. Currently, the only thing I can think of is the sovereign divine weapon in the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. They don't need the undead barrier-breaking pill. If I can think of a way to get them to help, there might be a chance. Demon King Black Flame pondered. As long as Qin Feiyang and the others don't leave the Chaos Royal City, no amount of Dominator weapons can kill them. Because the Divine King and the Chaos Royal City do not allow anyone to offend them. And those ruler weapons wouldn't dare to charge into the primal Chaos Royal City. I have an idea. Feng Tian Demon King's eyes glinted. What idea? Black Flame Demon King and Bloodthirsty Demon King looked at him expectantly. They're Qin Feiyang's companions. Demon King Feng Tian sneered. What? Don't you forget that we've also made a blood oath to not harm his companions. Moreover, we can't instigate other undead or Dominator weapons to harm them. Bloodthirsty Demon King was startled and hurriedly said. We can't, but that doesn't mean others can't. Don't forget. This time, Qin Feiyang's group isn't the only ones that have entered the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. From what I know, there are several other factions. Aren't these factions very good chess pieces to be used? Feng Tian Demon King sneered. That's right. We can look for them. They aren't the undead of the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, so even if we instigate them, it won't be within the scope of the Blood Oath. Black Flame Demon King and Bloodthirsty Demon King slapped their heads, suddenly enlightened. That's right. Feng Tian Demon King nodded and sneered. When Qin Feiyang made us swear the Blood Oath, he didn't mention these people at all. This means that either they aren't closely related to him or they're enemies. This idea is a good one. But even if we find these people and convince them to help, they probably won't dare to come to the primal Chaos Royal City. Black Flame Demon King frowned after calming down. Men die for wealth, birds die for food. As long as we give them enough benefits, they'll definitely be tempted. Even if they don't dare to come to the primal Chaos Royal City, we can have them get rid of Qin Feiyang's companions first. I'm sure that when Qin Feiyang hears about the deaths of his companions, he'll be so heartbroken that he'll despair. He might even lose his mind and charge out of the primal Chaos Royal City to take revenge on those people. The moment he leaves the primal Chaos Royal City, the wrath of the heavens will descend, and we won't even need to do anything. Feng Tian Demon King couldn't help but laugh at the end. Even he had to admire himself for coming up with such a good idea. Makes sense. Even if he doesn't lose his mind, being able to see his pained and sorrowful expression will relieve some of the anger in our hearts. Bloodthirsty Demon King also laughed sinisterly. But the prerequisite is that we have to find him to refine the undead barrier-breaking pill. Don't make things difficult for us then. Then let's go back now. Anyway, we've already found 3 extreme yang lightning fires. As for whether the other demon kings have found them or not, it has nothing to do with us. The 3 of them hit it off and immediately returned to the primal Chaos Royal City. 3 days later, when they returned to the primal Chaos Royal City, they found out that Spirit Demon King had already gotten rid of his undead body. Their desire for the undead barrier-breaking pill became even stronger. The Demon Kings weren't that united, and they competed with each other. No one wanted to lose to the other. When they arrived at the entrance of the ancient castle and saw the tightly shut door, the 3 Demon Kings couldn't help but mock in their hearts. They actually closed the door to their guests. If not for the undead barrier-breaking pill, who would come here? How arrogant. Qin Feiyang, come out and get the extreme yang lightning fire. Bloodthirsty Demon King spoke with an arrogant tone. Even if he was begging for help, he wasn't willing to lower his attitude, as if someone owed him. It was very unpleasant. Sure enough. When Qin Feiyang walked out and saw the arrogant attitude of the 3 of them, a sense of disgust immediately rose in his heart. But there was one point that was worth paying attention to. The 3 of them actually came back together, which meant that the 3 of them were really in cahoots. It seemed that in the future, it wouldn't be too peaceful. Bloodthirsty Demon King waved his hand, and 3 extreme yang lightning fires flew in front of Qin Feiyang, and said indifferently, quickly refine it for us, don't make us wait too long. Qin Feiyang glanced at the three of them and nodded, all right, I'll go refine it for you guys now. Finished. He turned around and entered the ancient castle with the three extreme young lightning fires. These three people really don't know what's good for them. The voice of the ancient castle sounded in the cultivation room. Since they don't know what's good for them, then don't blame me for being merciless. Watch how I torment them. Qin Feiyang sneered and opened the furnace to refine pills. 3 undead barrier-breaking pills were successfully produced. However, he kept it in his own pouch. Then, he deliberately made a loud noise in the cultivation room. What's going on? When the 3 demon kings heard the loud noise outside, their faces couldn't help but reveal a look of surprise. Soon, Qin Feiyang walked out with a dejected face. What happened to you? The 3 of them frowned. I'm sorry, there was an accident when I was refining the pill, and the herbs were scrapped. Qin Feiyang smiled apologetically. What? The herbs are scrapped? The 3 of them were stunned. I can only trouble you to find 3 more extreme young lightning fires. By the way, help me find a pill furnace. My pill furnace also has some problems, and it's very easy for it to explode. Once it explodes, the herbs will be scrapped again. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he turned around and prepared to enter the castle. Stop right there. Feng Tian Demon King shouted angrily. Qin Feiyang's lips curled up into a smile, but he quickly concealed it. He turned to look at Feng Tian Demon King and asked suspiciously, Lord Demon King, is there anything else? You refined for the Divine King, and there was no accident. There was no accident when refining for the Ghost Demon King. But there was an accident when refining for us, and the 3 extreme young lightning fires were all scrapped. How could such a coincidence happen at the same time? Do you think we're stupid? Feng Tian Demon King roared, and a terrifying aura surged out, enveloping all directions, and the world couldn't help but tremble. What's going on? Ghost Demon King heard the commotion and ran over, looking at the 3 of them in surprise. Help us judge. We finally found 3 extreme young lightning fires, but now he's telling us that there was a problem during the refining process, and all of them were scrapped? If it was you, would you believe it? The 3 of them looked at Ghost Demon King indignantly. Ugh! Ghost Demon King was stunned. 3 extreme young lightning fires were scrapped? There couldn't be such a coincidence. Qin Feiyang stood under Feng Tian Demon King's demonic might without fear, and said indifferently, when refining pills, accidents can happen at any time. Not to mention me, even the alchemy masters in the world can't guarantee success every time. Is it an accident that the 3 extreme young lightning fires were all scrapped? Do you believe it yourself? Bloodthirsty Demon King said angrily. Of course I believe it. Because this kind of thing is very common. You guys are not alchemists, so you won't understand no matter how much I say. Instead of wasting time here with me, why don't you hurry up and find the extreme young lightning fires? Don't forget, there's still the alchemy furnace. I can't guarantee that I won't fail next time. Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Are you threatening us? The 3 of them clenched their fists, and their eyes were as sharp as blades. How is that possible? I can't wait to curry favor with you guys. It's really an accident. I don't want to either. If you guys are really unhappy in your heart, then kill me to vent your anger. After saying that, Qin Feiyang closed his eyes, full of provocation. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you? Bloodthirsty Demon King stared at Qin Feiyang, and a bloody light surged in his eyes. Don't be impulsive. If you kill him, you will be erased by the wrath of heaven. It's not worth it. Black Flame Demon King and Feng Tian Demon King quickly stopped Bloodthirsty Demon King. Chapter 3807. But he's obviously playing with us. What did he say about helping him find the pill furnace? What does he take us for? As his subordinates? Bloodthirsty Demon King roared. Calm down. As long as we get the undead barrier breaking pill, we'll let him have a taste of losing his companions. Feng Tian Demon King thought. That's right. It's not good to fall out with him now. Otherwise, who knows how he'll torture us. Black Flame Demon King also secretly advised. Hearing this, Bloodthirsty Demon King stared at Qin Feiyang gloomily, took a deep breath, and nodded, all right, we'll go find the pill furnace for you, you just wait patiently. Qin Feiyang opened his eyes. With a trace of a smile on his face, he said, it seems that the three of you are also reasonable people. In that case, Junior will thank you in advance. Humph. Bloodthirsty Demon King snorted coldly, turned around, and soared into the sky, breaking through the air like lightning. I hope there won't be any accidents next time. Feng Tian Demon King and Black Flame Demon King looked at Qin Feiyang and said. I'll do my best. Qin Feiyang nodded. A cold light flashed in their eyes as they chased after Bloodthirsty Demon King. Brother Qin, good move. Ghost Demon King looked at the backs of the three, then looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled in admiration. Huh? Qin Feiyang looked at Ghost Demon King and asked suspiciously, Senior, what do you mean by that? We're all smart people, why play dumb? But you still have to listen to me, you can't go too far, you have to stop while you can. The Phantom Demon King smiled and turned to leave. Qin Feiyang looked at Ghost Demon King's back, then looked at Bloodthirsty Demon Theta Wang's back, and a trace of ridicule appeared in his eyes. Fight with me? I have a way to deal with you. Another 3 days passed. Qin Feiyang and the others had already arrived at Chaos Imperial City for 9 days. In these 9 days, more and more undead gathered outside the city. Without exception, they were all here for the undead barrier breaking pill. However, even though the Divine King of Chaos was in seclusion, and even though the Spirit Demon King was the only one in the city, none of the undead dared to approach the Chaos Royal City. In their eyes, the Chaos Royal City was an absolute forbidden zone. Why hasn't Qin Feiyang come out yet? He can't be staying in the primal Chaos Imperial City forever, right? If that's the case, how would we have the chance to meet him? Don't even mention begging him for medicinal pills. Among them, there were quite a number of dead spirits who had condensed physical bodies. They were all gathered together and looked at the Chaos Royal City from afar. Their faces were filled with anxiety. What are you all doing here? Do you think we don't exist? Suddenly, a hoarse and gloomy voice sounded. The group of undead turned their heads and saw 2 figures flying over from the void behind them. It was Snow White Queen and the Myriad Poisons Demon King. Greetings, Lord Demon Kings. All the undead knelt in the air and kowtowed. They were all extremely nervous. The Myriad Poisons Demon King stopped above a group of undead and gloomily said, When did our territory become a gathering place for ants like you? I'm sorry. We didn't mean to offend you. Furthermore, we didn't get close to the Chaos Royal City. We just wanted to meet Qin Feiyang. Please have mercy on us and don't chase us away. We promise we won't cause any trouble here. The group of undead hurriedly begged. Do you also want the undead barrier breaking pill? Snow White Queen smiled and asked. Yes. The undead nodded. Snow White Queen shook her head and said, But Qin Feiyang can't leave the Chaos Royal City now. Even if you keep waiting, it will be in vain. Can't leave the Chaos Royal City? Why? Could he have been imprisoned by His Excellency the God King? The undead were bewildered. The Myriad Poisons Demon King's eyes flashed as he asked, If Qin Feiyang is really imprisoned by Lord Divine King, what are you going to do? We we will jointly plead for Qin Feiyang. We plead for Lord Divine King and Lord Demon Kings to be merciful." The group of undead hesitated for a moment before begging. Hearing this, Snow White Queen couldn't help but laugh. She looked at the myriad poisons Demon King and said, "It seems like Qin Feiyang has become a hot commodity in our Sky Bell Divine Treasury. There's nothing we can do about it." Who asked him to be able to refine the undead barrier-breaking pill? The myriad poisons Demon King smiled bitterly. Snow White Queen glanced at the undead below and shook her head. "Forget it. Don't bother with them. It's fine as long as they follow the rules and don't cause trouble." "All right." The myriad poisons Demon King hesitated for a moment before nodding with a smile. Schwa. The two retracted their gazes and entered the Chaos Royal City without looking back. Could it be that Qin Feiyang is really imprisoned by them? Then what's the point of waiting here? No. We must not let Qin Feiyang be in the hands of the Divine King. He is our only hope. But the other party is the Divine King of Chaos, one of the 10 Demon Kings. What can we do? Then let's do as we said earlier. We will plead for Qin Feiyang. That's right. We must fight for Qin Feiyang's survival. Everyone, if we want to see Qin Feiyang, we have to be united. From now on, we will kneel on the ground until the Divine King releases him. Okay. Although we are not as powerful as the Divine King, as long as we are sincere, I believe that we will be able to move the Divine King. Hence, a shocking scene appeared. The undead from all directions knelt outside the city one after another. Some knelt on the ground while some knelt in the void. Furthermore, as more and more undead rushed over after hearing the news, they knelt without hesitation and pleaded for mercy after learning about the situation. It can't be. On the city wall. When Snow White Queen and Demon King saw this scene, their faces were filled with shock. Spirit Demon King heard the commotion and leaped onto the city wall. When he saw this spectacular scene, he was also shocked. The undead of the Sky Bell Divine Treasure actually knelt down and pleaded for mercy for an outsider. This had never happened before. Was this the charm of the undead bottleneck-breaking pill? We followed the Divine King for countless years and experienced countless bloody battles before we managed to rule the Sky Bell Divine Treasure. But now, Qin Feiyang has made these undead willingly submit to him with just the undead bottleneck-breaking pill. In comparison, why does it feel so ridiculous? Snow White Queen shook her head bitterly. Sigh. There's no other way. Getting rid of the body of the undead is the wish of all the undead. Now that they finally see hope, how can they not fight for it? Spirit Demon King walked over and said emotionally. Snow White Queen and Demon King looked at Spirit Demon King and there was a trace of surprise in their eyes. There's nothing to see. Isn't it just getting rid of the body of the undead and reincarnating as a human? In fact, it's no different from before. Spirit Demon King waved his hand and smiled, but his face was full of unconcealable pride. How shameless. Snow White Queen and Demon King rolled their eyes. Spirit Demon King said, "But 3 days ago, a very interesting thing happened." "What is it?" The two were suspicious. Spirit Demon King immediately told them about how Qin Feiyang played with bloodthirsty demon Theta Wang. The two were stunned. How could he be so bold? He dared to play with the 3 Demon Kings. Myriad Poisons Demon King asked with some schadenfreude, then Demon King Feng Tian and the others, their faces must have been very ugly at that time. Do you still need to say it? They almost killed Qin Feiyang. Fortunately, they still know a little sense of propriety. Spirit Demon King smiled hoarsely. Snow White Queen asked, "Then when you went to find Qin Feiyang, did he make things difficult for you?" "Not at all. Not long after, he gave me the undead barrier-breaking pill with both hands. To be honest, I was quite surprised at that time, because at first, I thought that he might take the opportunity to ask for some benefits from me. After all, human greed knows no bounds. Spirit Demon King said. It seems that I really didn't misjudge him. This boy is indeed a good young man. For people like him, if you are good to him, he will be twice as good to you, but if you have malice towards him, he will also pay you back twice as good. Snow White Queen smiled slightly. Anyway, there's only one sentence: revenge. Myriad Poisons Demon King said. And there's one more sentence: gratitude must be repaid. Snow White Queen smiled. Myriad Poisons Demon King was slightly taken aback, shook his head and smiled. It seems that you really have a good impression of him. Because he and I are the same kind of people. Let's go and find him. I hope he won't make things difficult for us. Snow White Queen said with a smile, and then rushed toward the castle with Myriad Poisons Demon King. Spirit Demon King glanced at the undead outside the city. The more he looked, the more shocked he was. About a few hundred breaths later. In front of the castle. Qin Feiyang brought the 2 undead barrier-breaking pills and walked in front of Snow White Queen and Myriad Poisons Demon King. The 2 of them looked at each other and smiled. They were already mentally prepared for Qin Feiyang to make things difficult for them, but the result proved that they were just thinking too much. Snow White Queen took the undead barrier-breaking pill and looked at Qin Feiyang with a smile. If you have time, you can go to the city walls and take a look. At that time, use your brain and think about it. Maybe without leaving the primal chaos Imperial City, you can still have a good harvest. City walls? Qin Feiyang was slightly startled. He raised his head and looked at the city walls in the distance, his eyes filled with suspicion. However, Snow White Queen did not say anything else, and soared into the air with Myriad Poisons Demon King. Standing above the city, they directly consumed the undead barrier-breaking pill. Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 of them, with a stomach full of doubts. He flew to the top of the city walls like lightning. What's going on? When he saw the shocking scene outside the city, Qin Feiyang was immediately dumbfounded. How could there be so many undead? The strangest thing was, why were they all kneeling on the ground? It's Qin Feiyang. That's right, it's him. It's exactly the same as the portrait on the kill order. There was suddenly a commotion outside the city. Every undead had a trace of joy on their faces. What's going on? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Why were they all so excited to see him? You still don't know. They thought that we had imprisoned you, so they were all kneeling outside to plead for you. Ghost Demon King walked to Qin Feiyang's side and said in a hoarse voice. Plead for me? Qin Feiyang was startled, and said in surprise, You mean, they have been kneeling outside the city to plead for me? Otherwise, who do you think has such great charm? Ghost Demon King shook his head. Even the Primal Chaos Divine King and the 10 Great Demon Kings had never enjoyed such treatment. Although the undead of the Heavenly Bell Divine Treasure would kneel and kowtow when they saw them, it was not voluntary, but because of their fierce reputation, these undead had no choice but to kneel down respectfully. Willingly and willingly were 2 completely different concepts. Requesting monthly votes, recommendation votes. Chapter 3808. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he cast his gaze outside the city again. He had mixed feelings. Although these spirits and skeletons were so concerned about him because of the undead bottleneck-breaking elixir, to be honest, it was hard not to be touched by such a scene. This was because it was not just 1 or 2 spirits but tens of thousands of spirits. However, what did Snow Queen mean by what she said earlier? She wanted him to use his brain to think. Even if he could not leave the Chaos Royal City, he could still have a good harvest. He could still have a good harvest without leaving the Chaos Royal City. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. He finally figured out the logic behind it. Undead bottleneck breaking elixir. What were these spirits doing outside the city? Wasn't it because of the undead bottleneck breaking elixir? Although he could not leave the Chaos Royal City, it did not affect him from refining the undead bottleneck breaking elixir, nor did it affect him from trading with these spirits. That was right. This was a trade. There was no free lunch in this world. It was the same for everyone. Qin Feiyang also admitted that he was not a philanthropist. If he wanted the undead bottleneck breaking elixir, he had to give something in exchange. Given the spirit's desire for the undead bottleneck breaking elixir, they would definitely not hesitate even if he asked them to use nomological miniature or nomological inheritance to exchange for it. Therefore, this was the business opportunity that people in the secular world talked about. Interesting. Qin Feiyang's lips curled into a smile. In the past. In his eyes, the undead bottleneck breaking elixir was not very valuable because only the spirits needed it. It was not even as valuable as a divine life elixir. However, he never expected that one day, this elixir that he had almost forgotten would actually bring him such great benefits. There was no need to say much. An undead bottleneck breaking elixir in exchange for a nomological miniature. When he finally left the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, the number of nomological miniature he would obtain would definitely reach an unimaginable number. The most important thing was that he did not have to take risks. If he had to search for the nomological miniature himself, he would definitely face all kinds of dangers and might even lose his life. However, it was different now. He only had to sit here quietly and be responsible for refining the undead bottleneck breaking elixir. He did not have to take risks and he could obtain countless nomological miniature. How good was this? In the sky. Snow Queen and the Myriad Poisons Demon King successfully passed the heavenly tribulation with the help of the Chaos Royal City. In fact, they didn't even need the help of the Chaos Royal City. They could easily deal with the heavenly tribulation with their own Dominator divine weapons. After successfully overcoming the tribulation, the two of them were enveloped by a golden light that purified the aura of death and reconstructed their bodies. When the undead outside the city saw this scene, their desire for the undead breakthrough pill grew even stronger. Brother Qin, can you help us too? As long as you can give me a pill, I'm willing to do anything. The undead who had condensed their physical bodies opened their mouths one after another, and their voices were filled with pleading. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered as he looked at the departed spirits outside. He smiled and said, "Get up first. There's no need to plead for me because I'm willing to stay in the Chaos Royal City." Willing? Since you're willing, why did Snow White and Her Highness say that you can't leave the primal Chaos Royal City? Some of the undead were confused. This is the agreement between me and Senior Divine King. Until the end of the Sky Bell Divine Treasure trial, I cannot leave the primal Chaos Royal City. So in the future, I can only stand on the city wall and talk to you. Qin Feiyang smiled. So that's how it is. You've really made us worried. The undead heaved a sigh of relief and got up. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "But I still have to thank you. But regarding the undead breakthrough pill, I'm unable to do it now." Why? Is it difficult to refine the undead breakthrough pill? Hearing this, the undead outside the city became noisy. Qin Feiyang said, "It's not difficult to refine the pill, but the ingredients are hard to find because I can't leave the Chaos Royal City now. So it's about the ingredients. That's simple. Just tell us what ingredients you need and we'll find them ourselves." They thought it was a big deal, but it was just ingredients. Such a small problem was not worth mentioning to them. That's for the best. But, I can't help you for free, right? How about this? A miniature of an ultimate law can be exchanged for one undead breakthrough pill. Of course, if you don't have a miniature of an ultimate law, a miniature of an ordinary law will do too. But you need two miniature of an ordinary law to exchange for one undead breakthrough pill. What do you think? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Originally, he didn't want to consider the miniature of a law, because the miniature of a law couldn't be compared to an inheritance. But thinking about it, the inheritance of a law could only be found by chance. If he only used the inheritance of a law to exchange, not many would be able to take it out. When the ghost demon king heard this, he couldn't help but turn his head to glance at Qin Feiyang. He actually came here to do business? A miniature of an ultimate law in exchange for one undead breakthrough pill. 2 miniature of an ordinary law in exchange for one undead breakthrough pill. One must know. The Sky Bell divine treasure was either a divine artifact or an undead. If Qin Feiyang really started this business, how many miniature of a law would he obtain in the future? However, a miniature of an ultimate law in exchange for one undead breakthrough pill, this condition seemed a bit harsh. After all, the miniature of an ultimate law was not a cabbage. Not every undead had one. However, to the surprise of the ghost demon king, after hearing Qin Feiyang's condition, not a single undead objected. No problem. Now I can give you a miniature of an ultimate law. I can also give you 2 miniature of an ordinary law. The undead outside the city, especially the undead who had condensed flesh and blood, couldn't wait to exchange the miniature of a law in their hands for the undead breakthrough pill. Because in their opinion, the value of the undead breakthrough pill far exceeded the value of the miniature of a law. On the contrary, they felt that Qin Feiyang was taking care of them. Because in the current situation, Qin Feiyang could totally open his mouth and ask them for 10 miniature of a law, or even an inheritance of a law. They didn't dare to complain. Because only Qin Feiyang could refine the undead breakthrough pill. So now, not only did they not feel that Qin Feiyang's request was excessive, but they were also grateful to Qin Feiyang in their hearts. The effect is not bad. Qin Feiyang had a smile on his face and said, "Don't worry, keep the miniature of a law and come to me when you find the Yang Thunder Fire. Of course, if there is an inheritance of a law, that would be best." You still want an inheritance? The ghost demon king was speechless. This appetite was really not small. If they could use the miniature of a law to exchange, who would be willing to take out a law inheritance? Qin Feiyang ignored the ghost demon king and looked at the undead outside the city and continued, "If any of you really have a law inheritance, whether it is an ordinary law or an ultimate law, I am willing to buy it at a high price." A high price? It seems that at our level, besides the profound meaning of a law, we don't need anything else. The undead looked at each other. The ghost demon king couldn't help but whisper, "Brother Qin, I need to remind you that a law inheritance can't be measured by value. If you really want a law inheritance, then you should have used the law inheritance to exchange for the undead breakthrough pill from the beginning." "Thank you for your reminder, senior. I thought so at the beginning. However, a law inheritance can only be encountered and not sought. If you really use a law inheritance to exchange for the undead breakthrough pill, I'm afraid not many can take it out." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Then what are you going to use to exchange for the law inheritance? Is there anything more valuable than the undead breakthrough pill?" The ghost demon king was suspicious. "Of course there is." Qin Feiyang nodded with a smile and looked at the undead outside the city again. "Indeed, with your strength, besides the undead breakthrough pill, there is nothing else that can attract you. And for you to get rid of your undead body, each of you only needs one undead breakthrough pill, so even if there is a law inheritance, you will definitely not be willing to give it to me." But, speaking of this, Qin Feiyang changed the topic and asked, "Have you ever thought about what you are going to do after you get rid of the undead body? Is there still a need to think about it? Of course it is to cultivate well and work hard to become stronger." Everyone looked at Qin Feiyang in puzzlement. How could he ask such a simple question? The ghost demon king also had a puzzled look. At this time, Snow White Queen and the myriad poisons demon king had already reconstructed their bodies. Their faces were glowing and their spirits were hale and hearty. The two of them also floated over and landed beside Qin Feiyang and the Ghost Demon King. Snow White Queen was also quite satisfied with Qin Feiyang's performance at this moment. It was just a casual reminder, she didn't expect this kid to understand it so quickly. Congratulations to the two seniors. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and smiled. Snow White Queen waved her hand and smiled, it's all thanks to you. Continue, I want to see how you are going to trick them into handing over the law inheritance. The Myriad Poisons Demon King also had a face full of ridicule. Cough cough. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and hurriedly clarified, I didn't neglect them. This junior really does have something more valuable than the undead barrier-breaking pill. The three demon kings looked at each other and couldn't help but reveal a trace of curiosity. Qin Feiyang sorted out his thoughts, turned his head to look at the undead outside the city, and said with a smile, you are right. After getting rid of the undead, cultivate well and work hard to become stronger, but there is one point that you have neglected. What? Everyone looked at him in puzzlement. After getting rid of the undead, you can have children and reproduce. I want to ask everyone present, after being an undead for so many years, now that you have finally been reborn as a human, don't you want to have children and grandchildren and enjoy the long-awaited joy of family? Qin Feiyang asked. That's right. After getting rid of the undead body and being reborn as a human, we can get married and have children, raise our descendants, and no longer be a lonely ghost. We can also have true love, family, children and grandchildren. All the undead woke up one after another. Snow White, Theta Wang, and the others were the same. For these undead, having children was something that they didn't even dare to think about. Since you want to have children, you naturally have to have cultivation conditions. For example, soul veins, crystal veins, all kinds of medicinal materials, pills, rare treasures, and so on. Without these things, how are your descendants going to cultivate? In the current environment of the Heavenly Bell Divine Treasury, you can't even find a bit of essence energy, not even sunlight. I can tell you responsibly that even if you put in a lot of effort to cultivate them, they can't step on the path of cultivation. In such an environment, children can't grow up happily. Qin Feiyang said. That makes sense. Everyone nodded. Looking at it carefully, if they really wanted to have children in the future, there were too many things involved. The first thing was to improve the environment of the Heavenly Bell Divine Treasury. Chapter 3809. To improve the environment, the soul vein and crystal vein are indispensable. But during my time in the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, I didn't find any soul vein or crystal vein. I even wonder if there are any here. Qin Feiyang frowned. No. This place used to be beautiful. But after the calamity, everything was destroyed. Some undead shook their heads and sighed. Then this is a big problem. Without the crystal vein and soul vein, no matter how hard you work, you can't change the environment here. Although I have a lot of crystal veins and soul veins, enough to change the Sky Bell Divine Treasure, I can't take them out now, so I can't help. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Then aren't you talking for nothing? Myriad Poisons Demon King frowned. No. Although I can't give you crystal veins and soul veins, I can give you a kind of pill. This kind of pill can open the door of potential. Even if the environment isn't good, as long as you work hard, it's not a problem to step into the path of cultivation. As long as you can step into the path of cultivation, you can extend your life. I believe none of you want to see that when you wake up from your seclusion, your children and grandchildren will be buried in the earth. Qin Feiyang smiled. Open the door of potential? As soon as these words came out, not only the undead outside the city, even the three demon kings couldn't help but be shocked. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded, grabbed his clothes with both hands, and pulled hard. The potential imprint on his chest immediately appeared in front of everyone's eyes. This is the potential imprint? Is it real or fake? The undead were surprised. It's real. Spectre Demon King nodded. Because both he and Snow Queen could see the potential imprint at a close distance. Getting the affirmation from Spectre Demon King, the undead outside the city were shocked. The door of potential could be opened with a pill? It was simply unheard of. This isn't just 1 or 2 levels, it's the door of potential, including the door of potential in the sovereign realm. And it's not just me, everyone around me has also opened all the doors of potential. So my condition is, 1 ordinary law inheritance in exchange for 1 potential pill, and 1 strongest law inheritance in exchange for 2 potential pills. Qin Feiyang put on his clothes and smiled at everyone. You're not lying to us? An undead spirit asked. What's there to trick? When you get the potential elixir, immediately start the verification. If you don't succeed, I'll return the potential pill on the spot. Qin Feiyang said. Are you sure? Ice Queen looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. Of course. Qin Feiyang nodded. All right. Give me a potential pill first. Ice Queen said. Now? Qin Feiyang was stunned. This woman was too impatient. Of course. Strike while the iron is hot. If I don't test it myself, how are you going to continue doing business? Snow White Queen chuckled. Then this junior should thank you. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Yeah. Snow White Queen nodded and smiled, so you have to give this potential pill to me for free. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but laugh. He didn't expect that this high and mighty demon king would actually take advantage of him. All right. Senior, please wait for a moment. I'll go get the potential pill right away. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he rushed toward the ancient castle like lightning. Why do I find it hard to believe? The myriad poisons demon king looked at Qin Feiyang's back view, his face filled with doubt. Whether it's true or not, won't we know later? But if it's true, then the value of this kid is far from being estimated. Snow White Queen muttered. Ancient castle. Senior brother, stop your seclusion. Come out and help. A big business is here. The moment Qin Feiyang returned to the ancient castle, he shouted in the hall. Big business? In a cultivation room on the 2nd floor, Madman opened his eyes and suspiciously walked out. Seeing that there was no trace of Qin Feiyang in the hall, he jumped down and walked toward Qin Feiyang's cultivation room. After entering the cultivation room, Madman saw Qin Feiyang grabbing a Qianquan bag as if he was looking for something. What? Why are you so excited? It's like you're injected with chicken blood. Madman was suspicious. You don't know. This time, we're going to be rich. Qin Feiyang took out a potential pill from his Qianquan bag and looked at Madman with a smile. What do you mean? Madman was even more puzzled. Qin Feiyang quickly explained the situation in a simple and clear manner. Madman's expression froze. When he came back to his senses, there was no doubt that Madman was also injected with chicken blood and couldn't help but be excited. If this business was successful, then they would be able to earn a lot. You didn't expect it, right? The undead barrier breaking pill that we ignored before can now be so valuable. Qin Feiyang laughed. It's not just the undead barrier breaking pill. Even the potential pill, whether it was in the Great Qin or later in the ancient world, could only be exchanged for some treasures. But now, it can be exchanged for law inheritances. Its value has increased countless times. If things like spirit veins and crystal veins can be taken from the Black Tortoise world, then their value will be even greater. Madman roared excitedly. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Although the Sky Bell Divine Treasury had a large number of sovereign weapons and law miniatures, it was severely lacking in the most basic things. For example, spirit veins and crystal veins. From a martial artist who had just stepped onto the path of cultivation to the imperishable realm below the sovereign realm, they needed the energy of spirit veins and crystal veins. In short, if the undead of the Sky Bell Divine Treasury really wanted to have children and reproduce, then they had to start from scratch. Madman pondered for a moment and looked at Qin Feiyang. Old Qin, haven't you noticed that we're changing the layout of the Sky Bell Divine Treasury? Layout? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. Look, because of our arrival, these undead have a chance to get rid of their undead bodies and be reborn as humans. And because they want to get rid of their undead bodies, they want to have children and reproduce. At that time, the Sky Bell Divine Treasury, which originally didn't have a single living person, will gradually become a world full of vitality and life. In other words, we've changed the future of the Sky Bell Divine Treasury. Madman said. Qin Feiyang was stunned when he heard this and said in astonishment, "It seems to make sense. So, what are we after? It's not law miniatures, nor is it law inheritances. We're changing the future of the Sky Bell Divine Treasury and saving all the undead here. So, we have a long way to go." Madman chuckled. Qin Feiyang was stunned and the corner of his mouth kept twitching. He really admired this guy's eloquence. He was clearly after the law miniatures and law inheritances, but he had to find a dignified excuse to make himself sound like a great person. However, there was one thing that was right. If he really refined the undead barrier-breaking pill wantonly, the future of the Sky Bell Divine Treasury would really change because of him. It was just that, the spirit vein and crystal vein were a problem. Although in the future, as the number of living people increased, the vitality of the Sky Bell Divine Treasury would slowly appear, but the spirit vein and crystal vein were the root of everything. Bluntly speaking, if there was a spirit vein and crystal vein, it wouldn't take long for this place to become full of vitality. Once the vitality reached a certain level, the death aura that permeated the Sky Bell Divine Treasury would slowly be purified. Finally, the dark clouds would disperse and the sun would rise. When the earth saw light again, the Sky Bell Divine Treasury would get rid of the current tragic atmosphere and cruel environment, allowing hope to reappear in this world. Let's go, let's go. The new fate of the Sky Bell Divine Treasury, a new chapter, from this moment on, officially begins. Madman grinned and dragged Qin Feiyang outside. Wait. Qin Feiyang shook off Madman and took out 2 potential pills, laughing, "We can't favor one and discriminate against the other. Myriad Poison's Demon King and Ghost Demon King will also give them one. Their relationship will definitely be stronger in the future. You are still the most thoughtful. A potential pill can buy them over. This is simply a huge profit." Madman chuckled. Following that, the two of them left the ancient castle and quickly rushed up the city wall. Ghost Demon King was speechless. "You actually called Madman to help. It seems like you guys really plan to make a fortune here. Look at what you're saying. Are we the kind of people who are greedy for small gains? We are doing this for the future of the Sky Bell Divine Treasury. A great move. As the controller of the Sky Bell Divine Treasury, you should support us and praise us." Madman was displeased. When the 3 demon kings heard this, their faces twitched slightly. How could there be such a shameless person? Cough cough. I don't know him. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly, keeping a distance from Madman. He took out a potential pill and handed it to Snow Queen. "This is the potential pill?" Snow Queen's expression was a bit stunned. Qin Feiyang nodded. These potential pills were refined by Dan Wangkai. When Dan Wangkai was in the Black Tortoise world, he refined many pills, and for ordinary pills, Dan Wangkai would keep them for himself. But for special pills like the potential pill, he would keep them by himself. Is it really possible? Although Snow Queen's strength was great, she couldn't help but feel nervous and hesitant. Won't you know once you try? But I will need the help of the Chaos Royal City's divine power. Qin Feiyang smiled. All right. Let's try. Snow Queen nodded, took the potential pill, threw it into her mouth, and then looked at the void. Chaos Royal City, please. Boom. A surge of divine power surged. Snow Queen suddenly felt a terrifying energy exploding in her body, attacking every nerve and cell in her body, as if her body was about to be torn apart. But with her strength, this bit of pain was still bearable. About 5 to 6 breaths later, a muffled sound rang out from within Snow White Queen's body. Under her dress, dazzling divine light instantly blossomed. As the potential gate opened, the pain also disappeared. Snow Queen turned around and opened her clothes, looking down at her chest, her expression suddenly shook. There was indeed a potential imprint on her skin. After all, she was a woman, she couldn't open her clothes in front of Qin Feiyang and the other men. Myriad Poison's Demon King was a woman, so there was nothing to be afraid of. When she went up to take a look, she was also stunned. But Spirit Demon King tiptoed, wanting to take a closer look, but she didn't want to offend Snow Queen, so she had a conflicted and expectant look. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.